All right, you ready?
Yeah. Go ahead, start recording on my end.
I'm gonna do one,
Sorry.
two, three. I'll do one, two, three, record. So when I say record, that's when you hit the record button.
Okay, cool.
So, okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
All right. One, two, three, record. All right. Get my notes up here. So I'm just gonna do my intro and then I'll introduce you.
Okay, cool.
All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Radio BrendoMan. I'm Brendan Creecy, and Phil is on vacation. He's on his road trip in Texas and New Orleans. I think he's in Louisiana somewhere, but I have a special guest this week, and I am joined by Mr. Justin Keyson. Justin, how you doing?
Good, man. I'm good.
It's good to have you on the show. It's been my intention to kind of I want all the Benview Network people on the show at one point or another, and but sometimes I get lazy, and Mr. Brian Apodaca reminded me to he's a big supporter of all of us, and he seems to be a big fan of you.
He's brought me up a couple of times. Yeah, he's definitely tagged me on Twitter. Is like, hey, you should get Justin on the show, and super awesome guy. He's always been really kind of cool and supportive.
I'm actually wearing my Francis Says Ha shirt that he made for a bunch of us.
I saw that. Yeah.
I have like 5 of these now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he actually, because Derek Armijo from Popsicles is a huge fan of the movie. And I mean, I like it a lot. I never thought I'd own a Francis Ha t-shirt, but now I do.
Yeah, I saw Matt when I recorded our last episode of Benview on Spielberg. I saw Matt wearing it, and that was one of my favorite movies of that year. So I was
kind of pretty great.
Pretty jealous.
Did you see the last one? Like, as I've heard mixed things.
The last Noah Bachman film
was the one with him and that they co-wrote. Forgot what it's called.
Something Miss America. I think.
Oh yeah. Mistress America, I think.
Yes, I didn't see that one. I've heard the same kind of reaction though.
Derek was like disappointed because that was like his. He was so. I think for him though, he might have because he saw Francis Ha like 10 times in the movie theater. He was a big apologist. Like he's the reason why I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I mean, I love Noah Baumbach movies. It's just they're not always on my radar.
Yeah.
Especially, I live out in the sticks now in the Inland Empire, and we don't really get a lot of those movies out here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really enjoyed Francis Ha, and I look forward to his movies. I mean, going back to Kicking and Screaming, I really enjoy that movie.
Yeah, same here. No, I may not love every movie that Noah Bachman does, but I generally feel like they're worth a watch at least once.
Yeah. I mean, people seem to forget how long he's been making movies because I've heard people say stupid things like, "Oh, he's all in like hipster and everything." I'm like, dude, Noah Baumbach was hipster before that term even existed.
Yeah.
Like he was doing all that stuff like in the early '90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like. So yeah,
it was slacker movies, I guess, back then. The was slacker movies back in the 90s.
Yeah, because you had because he's like contemporaries with like Linklater and those guys, and that was really the slacker started so many things. I mean, I guess just to introduce you to fans, to listeners of the show that might not know who you are. You are the co-host of Benview on Spielberg, along with Mr. Matt Benson.
Mm-hmm.
And you are a filmmaker.
Yeah, definitely trying to be. But yeah, definitely.
Unlike most people, including myself, I've discovered you have an IMDb page. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it is. I do in fact have one, and I'm proud to say that the first thing on my IMDb page is actually a film, my short film that I wrote and directed. So.
I read about that. I would love to see this. Can you watch this movie anywhere?
I could. I haven't made it public yet. It's been one of those nagging things in the back of my head where it's like I'll have to put it online soon. But it's like almost 10 years since I went to film school. So I
it's
have.
called. What is it called? Tell
The
tell
short
us about
film.
it.
It was my graduation film at film school called Rival Siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically about a brother and sister martial artists who finally kind of decided to settle their arguments with a good old-fashioned fight scene.
Nice. Wow. So that's a pretty like ballsy first movie attempt, filming fight scenes and stuff. I mean, most student films like that's very impressive.
Thanks. Well, when you get around to watching it, let me know how impressive it's still is.
So what was it sounds I'm just reading some of your backgrounds and what I know of you. You're a big fan of martial arts movies, of Chinese and Japanese movies, and which we share a lot in common in that I love martial arts movies. I love crazy Japanese movies. I love Korean. I love Korean movies, and it sounds like you have a very big taste for that and are very influenced by it. What got you into all that?
Basically, I think I've always been into it as far as I can remember. Like martial art action always seemed to like draw me in, even as a kid. I mean, let's not lie, Ninja Turtles is clearly a big thing in my generation, and so but the Karate Kid, you know, the Karate Kid movie, and all that stuff. But I think what got me on the verge of really learning more about it is I watched some Bruce Lee movies when I was really young, and that led me to Jackie Chan, which in turn led me to Jet Li, which in turn led me to John Woo and Michelle Yeoh, and I can definitely say that I was 97, 98, right before The Matrix came out, was the years I just dove right into the foreign film section. And I
remember I was always into that stuff. I mean, growing up in the 80s, of course, Karate Kid, Ninja Turtles, all the ninja craze, even like all those bad ninja movies.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like American Ninja and like all that stuff. Because that was always on TV like all the time. And then you had like Chuck Norris and of course Van Damme, like Bloodsport, Kickboxer, that kind of stuff. But then for me, like the turning point where it became like a real obsession was when like Rumble in the Bronx came out in the theaters here.
Yeah.
Because I had heard of Jackie Chan. I might even have seen like one movie, but then like Rumble in the Bronx, I saw that like on the day it came out because I had seen the trailer, and that just like blew it open, and that kind of opened the door for everything else.
Yeah.
You know?
No, totally. Well, I remember MTV, they did a kind of a Lifetime Achievement Award for the MTV Movie Awards.
Yeah.
Same year as Rumble in the Bronx came out, and Quentin Tarantino did like a introduction to it. And I kind of heard about Jackie Chan, but they cut this amazing reel.
Okay, yeah, I remember the back when, I mean, not that the MTV Movie Awards, I guess I don't really pay attention to them now, but they used to be a huge deal.
Oh no, agreed, and especially back then, and that they had this like 2-minute reel just showcasing a bunch of Jackie's stuff, and I was just floored. Like they had clips from like Drunken Master 2 and like Armor God, and I just was like, who is this guy? And so yeah, I think that really was the real leading me to finding out more about Jackie Chan. And yeah, like you, I watched Rumble the Bronx like the same weekend, and Super Cop and the American imported takes on Jackie's movies. But yeah, no, definitely Rumble the Bronx still, there's a lot of stuff in that movie I still love for sure.
And then you grew up in Buena Park, is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so you're Orange County, born and raised?
Born and raised, yeah. I'm still, actually, that's where I still live, so.
Wow, so yeah, that's cool. I mean, I grew up in San Diego, but I also lived in Orange County for a long time. I mean, I lived right next to Knott's Berry Farm for a while.
That's exactly where I live. I live across the street from Knott's Berry Farm, so.
Oh, wow, okay. I lived on Knott and Orange, like right down there, like near.
You're
so,
very,
like, right down the road.
Close to where I lived. I live at my family house, which is La Palma in Stanton. So for all your listeners who don't
know where that is.
That's
right where they So that's also, as a Kevin Smith fan, I mean, you probably know this. That's also right by where they filmed Clerks 2.
That was crazy to me because I found that out on the way home from watching a movie with one of my best buddies.
Did you like drive by the movies? Were you like me and were like, what the hell is happening?
Exactly. Yeah, we freaked out because we did a U-turn. Like my friend was driving down that street, and he's like, "Dude, I think I saw movies." What? That's impossible.
Because it was at the old Burger King, which was always weird to me that there was that Burger King and then another Burger King just like one street over.
Yeah,
which is probably why that one closed down.
I went to that Burger King a lot too because it's so close to my house, and like I remember watching the Kevin Smith kind of, I guess, one of the evening Kevin Smith DVDs, and he talked about that location. And it's weird to hear an outsider's point of view of that location.
Yeah, of like Orange County and of just like driving down, and then they lived there, which is really weird. They lived in that like Quality Inn right there.
I still drive by that Quality Inn every time I go home from work, and I'm like, at some point, Jay Muse and Kevin Smith and Rosario Dawson crashed at that place.
Every time, when I drive by a few times, and I just think about Kevin, like, because that was where he was editing. That was the first movie where he edited at night. Yeah, and he like didn't sleep, which is just crazy. And I remember driving because I was working at Disneyland while they were filming that, and people I knew were like, because I posted on the View Askew boards, I was big on the boards, and I knew people. I wasn't like in yet, like I would be later.
Yeah.
But people were like, oh yeah, people are going to the set, people are doing this. I'm like, and I mean, growing up in so I have to ask you, as somebody that lived in Orange County, did you ever work at Disneyland?
Surprisingly, I didn't.
So you're one of the few, but you probably knew people that did.
Oh yeah, no.
So you know how it is there. It becomes your entire life.
Yes.
And I basically consider 2005, 2006 to be like my lost year because I basically lived at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you work at? Which park?
I worked in main entrance, so I worked at both parks.
Oh wow, okay. And that's also a thing too, because I know so many folks who work at Disneyland. So it's either the first question is, "Oh, which park do you work at?" Yeah. And then where'd
you work? Then it's like crazy because anybody in Orange County, you could start talking about Disneyland, and you either worked there or knew somebody who worked there, and then by talking to them, depending on like if you're of the same age or like you knew people, like if you're like, "Oh yeah, my friend worked here," and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, I knew your friend," or "I knew somebody," like.
Yeah,
it's kind of this thing about living in Orange County, like working. And then it sounded like, and then you live right next to Knott's, so you go to Knott's a lot? I only go to Knott's now for Haunt, really.
I went to Knott's when I was younger, but as I kind of
me too.
I guess maybe because it's just the cheaper.
Yeah.
So that's why you went more to Knott's Berry Farm when you were younger.
Okay, so how old are you? Because I want to ask a very specific Knott's question.
Okay, I'm 32 years old.
Okay, so you probably are old enough to remember. Do you remember Cinco de Mayo, 1999?
Holy crap!
There you go. There you go.
I never thought about that.
Were you around the park at that time? Because I was there.
No, no. Well, you were there?
I was there. I was on. Okay, so here's what happened. So we've talked. Phil and I have talked about this day before. So Knott's had a bright idea, which ended up being one of the biggest disasters in park history. You offer on Cinco de Mayo 1999. They offered 5-cent admission if you got there before, I think, 10.
Yeah. And
basically it caused a riot. Like riot conditions at Knott's. So I remember my roommate and I and some other people, we went to Biola, which is up in La Mirada, but it's still really close. Yeah. And I was like, oh dude, we should totally get on that. And so we ditched class, like we cut class and drove down. And I remember getting to the parking area and there was just signs and cops everywhere. And this was at like 9. So like the shit hadn't really hit the fan yet.
Yeah.
But there was no parking. Beach Boulevard was like a parking lot. And we're like, all right, this is crazy. But we ended up like we're like, well, let's just park like in the neighborhood because there's a neighborhood nearby, and then like we'll walk over. And then I was like, I don't know, this looks bad. So we ended up going home.
Yeah.
But then I got to hear like everything play out on the radio, and I had friends that were in the park, and when they basically stopped charging a nickel and charged regular prices after 10, like things went crazy, and they had to close the park, and there was a riot.
What cracks me up is you telling me you probably parked in a neighborhood nearby. There's about
probably your neighborhood.
I was gonna say it's about a 90% chance you were parked, if not by my house, near my house, which is where most people park during haunt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure during haunt, that's kind of a giant pain in the ass. I mean, living down there during haunt season is always just like, ugh.
No, I used to work out in LA. And I knew during the month of haunt, I couldn't. There's no way in hell I was going to drive there after 5 o'clock.
Because the 91 gets all jammed up, Beach gets all jammed up, all the side streets get jammed up.
Yeah,
it's a crazy thing. It's crazy to see how that has evolved over the years. Because when I first started going, I was in high school, and it was not like an all month of October event. It was like a couple weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
And then I think at some point Knott's realized, oh, we're making all of our money for the year from this event.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm a big haunt person. I go every year. I just feel, I don't know what your thoughts are on it. Are you a haunt fan?
I've been to haunt. Excuse me. I've been to haunt once.
Oh wow.
Because I'm a scaredy cat.
Okay, so you don't like getting scared. I get it.
It's cool though. I mean, we need to go again, but it's like my feelings on haunt is I know.
But as a resident, it's not the fun.
I have a very specific, interesting thoughts on haunt because I just know like 2 o'clock in the morning I'll be woken up by some asshole who's like drunk coming back from the park. But I mean, like at the same time, I know so many people. Like some of my good friends have actually been both monsters and people putting the makeup on the monsters, and that's cool.
A whole big culture in of itself.
Yeah. I heard some good stuff about some of the mazes last year. Like I heard.
Oh, dude, there were some. I think they finally woke up to the fact that like if they didn't get on the ball, like Universal was gonna kick their ass, and so they finally made like. Because for a lot of years, there would be mazes that you're just like, all right, they're not even trying. Like, whereas now they have several mazes that are like it's kind of more like the Universal style, like their experiences. They tell stories. They actually spend money on the props and everything. And I mean, I've always been impressed with Universal as compared to like some of the other places. Like Magic Mountain, as far as I know, is still garbage.
I think they're only open like a couple days a week now.
Yeah, and it's and I don't know, but like as far as they're like the one year I went, because it just seemed like somebody went to a Halloween store and just put a bunch of stuff in a dark thing, and then there's some people that jump out at you. They did have a clown maze one year that is the most scared I've ever gotten in a maze, but that's just because I'm terrified of clowns. And a guy came down from the ceiling, and I did a full-on like Scooby-Doo jump onto Phil, like, and that was just a one-off thing. Other than that, like, it's pretty craptacular. Whereas Knott's, although the problem with Knott's is they got bought by Cedar Fair quite a few years ago, and now it's like a roller coaster park.
Yeah. And
because of that, like there's way more lights, and because I mean, like I just remember when the first time I went was like in '96, and I just remember the park being pitch black, fog everywhere, monsters everywhere, and it was just like no place was safe. It was terrifying the whole time. Even just standing around, you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen. This is crazy. Like I remember thinking we were safe and sitting outside of a bathroom, and some janitor is like emptying one of the trash cans, and he's got one of those big like push carts with like a big dumpster on it, and we're just like sitting there chilling out, and then this monster jumped out of that dude's dumpster and scared the crap out of us. Like Whereas now it's super. There's very few like totally dark areas now because there's so many more roller coasters
Mhm.
and then like it's just way. I don't know. The atmosphere is not what it was. I mean, it's still good. They have good years and bad years. I just Universal to me is like the ultimate, but they have their own problems where unless you get the front of the line pass at Universal,
Yeah.
like it's not worth it because you'll be in line. Like the lines are crazy. They don't cap the
Mhm.
attendance. Knott's I don't think does anymore either. Like that seems to me to be a problem. I wish they would like hard cap it because
Yeah.
the crowds, like I know I get it, they're there to make money, but it would I just miss the whole like again like feeling like scared all the time and not have and like it just kind of ruins the mood when you've waited like 2 hours to go into a maze.
Right.
Which at Universal is completely a thing,
Mhm.
and not sometimes too. But usually, depending on what you're doing, you can do knots pretty well. But with Universal, like we get the front of the line pass because otherwise you won't even be able to do all the stuff.
Mhm.
But Universal is pretty amazing because you get to go on the as a film fan. I mean, it's
Yeah.
one of the ultimate things is you get to walk around on the back lot. You walk through the Psycho set. You walk through the Bates Motel set. You walk up to the house. You walk around the war. I mean, that's just it's crazy.
I've actually been meaning to do the Universal one too because I just hear like because it's a movie set. I figure like
Yeah.
you can do even more elaborate stuff.
Yeah, and you feel like you're on the sets of those movies. Like it's so elaborate. It's like it's crazy. Like they spend a ton of money, and it's just a different. It's a really great experience.
Like I don't know if they did it last year or if it's gonna coming up this year, but I'm not even a fan of these movies, but I heard they're gonna do a Purge maze, and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea for that.
Yeah, they
concept.
had like a Purge experience this year, and it was awesome because I mean, are you? I'm a fan of the Purge. Are you?
I've only seen the first movie, so I
Okay.
want to give the other ones a shot. Yeah.
The first one's okay, like for what it is. I mean, I love the concept. The second one was great because I love what they're doing. Like, so the first one, it takes place in one house, right?
Right.
But the second one, you see what happens in a city.
Mhm.
And then this third one is like now it's like this revolution thing happening, and it's like this next step. I don't know. It seems like a very calculated move with what they're doing, and I really like the concept of it.
Yeah.
And also, just I don't know, as a person that's not like the idea of it is just to me is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like just very terrifying because especially like in our current political climate, I'm like, this is becoming more and more plausible. And I mean, not really, but like I could see this. I could see like Trump ordering a purge.
Yeah. No, that's where it's starting to become freaky. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
Like when they broke into the Republican debate with an advertisement for the purge, I thought that was genius. Like Blumhouse knows what they're doing when it comes to marketing their movies.
Oh my god.
I mean, it's insane how much money they basically just print money with what they do because it's like crazy low budget.
Yeah.
And they have like this rabid fan base now, and they're just printing money. But I feel like they haven't gotten stagnant like with what they're doing. If you're a fan of what they do.
Yeah, and it's surprising because they're mixing up their lineup with just a different amount of kind of movie. I mean, it's not like paranormal. It's not like Paranormal Activity like 8 times or like, you know what I mean? It's like Sinister is not the same as The Purge, etc.
And then you look at like Blum, like you look at his production credits and it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Like
didn't he do the Gem movie?
They did the Gem movie. He did the HBO what was that? The TV movie about AIDS. Like he produced that. Like like he's got his like again, it's crazy like what he's doing. I mean, I give him props, but back to you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I love talking about theme parks and
dude.
also like I mean, you grew up in Orange County, I grew up in San Diego, but I lived in Orange County and got similar backgrounds.
Living where I'm at, like I've just theme parks were a big part of growing up too. So it's like just.
So you're a Disneyland person, or?
I'm not someone who has a pass or anything to any parks.
Well, now the passes are crazy town.
I'm not even. Even if I considered it, I wouldn't do it this year.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like going there once in a while. I get these urges. I get like these, man, it's been a while since I've been to Disneyland. I feel this need to go to Disneyland. I've been to Universal Studios back in November. That was nice. And
Excited about Harry Potter. Are you a Harry Potter fan?
I'm a mild Harry Potter fan. I like it enough. But I also feel like I do want to check out the event. I do want to check out how what they got over there, but I feel like I won't be able to go there for a year.
It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be crazy. I'm bummed. I'm a little bummed because I had a chance to go. My brother works for E Entertainment, which in turn is the affiliate of Universal. So he texted me saying, "Hey, I have free tickets to go check out Harry Potter early," and I'm like, "Well, damn it, I'm gonna be in Texas, so never mind."
They've been doing soft openings, so I have friends that have been going, and I'm like, oh, I want to go so bad.
I know I've been seeing some of the I want to drink. I want to drink.
Everybody wants a butterbeer, man. They're gonna make talk about printing money. Oh my gosh, it's crazy to me that just this past, wasn't it just a couple years ago that they finally did the Moe's Tavern and you can get a Duff beer? Man,
check that out yet?
I haven't. I've heard it's cool. I was a little bummed to hear that the Flaming Moe is 1, not alcoholic, and 2, they can't actually light it on fire.
I had the Flaming Moe, and I will just say it's a cute Shirley Temple, but that's kind of it.
That kind of bummed me out.
Understandable, dude. Yeah, it's like dry ice. It's a cup that had a dry ice cube in the bottom.
And then I'm like, can they at least make it taste like cough syrup or something?
I was hoping at least mix it up with a grape drink, because that's what I thought what the cough syrup thing was, a diet thing.
Yeah, it should. That's what it should be. Because for people that are gonna go to the trouble to get a Flaming Moe, come on, give us something.
But it was cool, man. That Simpsons thing is awesome when you get around to checking it out.
Being in Moe's Tag, I only go now for horror nights, and I'm always just too we're trying to get all the stuff done.
Yeah.
And but because I didn't even get to ride the Simpsons ride this year because I got overruled. I love the Simpsons ride. I think it's one of the best queues ever. And I know a lot of people have hard feelings because people that loved Back to the Future.
Yeah.
But that ride was getting a little long in the tooth. I'm sorry.
I love Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies of all time. Is my favorite movie.
I love it too. And that ride was great.
That ride is great, but I'm with you. It got to the point where I'm I was also getting tired of it. And then right now I'm going to drive in the T-Rex's mouth and all right, and then you can tell the screen wasn't updated, so it's starting to look I'm not.
If you weren't sitting in the exact right spot, you were just oh, ugh.
Yeah. But no, I think the Simpsons ride's awesome. I'm so impressed with that ride, and even just the waiting in line. I could stare. I was watching. If you've never been on the ride, there's this whole bit where you're waiting in line, you're just seeing all the characters walking around and kind of this sort of working in the park, and it's impressive as hell. I just see Hans Moleman just kind of hanging out, waiting for a question to be asked.
Yeah, and so many little in jokes, and it seems there's a million different things that they're doing.
That's what's cool about the Sims Springfield thing, man. To me, it's I'm a huge Simpsons fan, but I've been kind of I haven't really thought about the show in a while. I just don't watch the show anymore. But that part of the park just reopened my mind about Simpsons, and I was all of a sudden the floodgates of love of that show just came out again.
Yeah, so cool. When I really think about it, it is one of my favorite shows of all time. I was completely obsessed, and especially when it was you could watch it in syndication, the 2 episodes a day. Yeah. Sometimes some periods I feel they were off 4 times a day. I feel like in junior high and high school, I feel I watched it was that and Saved by the Bell and Full House and stuff. Those were on in the evenings on KTLA and and Fox, Channel 5 and Channel 6. That's all they showed after a certain time.
I do remember, I would remember, there was a 2-hour. There was one point I felt a 2-hour chunk of Simpsons reruns, which I straight up didn't mind.
Yeah, and because And that's also how I caught up sometimes. I couldn't always watch on Sunday nights,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually it would show up on syndication because this was all pre-DVD.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love the show. Where did you leave off on The Simpsons?
Oh my God.
Everybody's answer is different. So
I almost feel like I stopped regularly watching the show, maybe, and that's a scary thing to feel like maybe 6-7 years ago. And
that's seems pretty recent.
yeah,
Like,
maybe. And I feel like, to be truthful, probably even further. But
because I remember watching a little bit new episodes. Like, I've been gone in spurts where I've watched like certain seasons, but like I'm talking like Die Hard. Like, I was done around like season 11 or 12.
I would say that's about right for me.
But then I would have parts where you'd hear something like, "Oh, they did this good episode," and then I'd watch. And then when it would be on like Hulu and stuff, and then I started watching again, and and I feel like it's weird, like it's wildly inconsistent now.
Yeah.
But there are some good things, and especially now, like it's so weird because it's just a completely different show now. Because people that write for The Simpsons now, for the most part, like are people that grew up watching The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And so it's gotten like even more meta to an annoying point sometimes. Like, because I mean, like how many times, like I don't even know. Like I remember just going back and they were doing like they were dragging up characters that you never thought you'd see again. And it was like, oh, they're doing another Lurleen Lumpkin episode? Like what? And and they're on like the 25th Sideshow Bob episode.
Yeah.
And then like Sideshow Bob's good, Sideshow Bob's bad again. Oh, Sideshow Bob's got a kid now. Like what? What is happening?
Did that happen? Sideshow Bob has a kid?
He totally had a family like in Italy or something.
Jeez. All right, that's
the only way I know about that was because I played Tapped Out, and they were like little characters in the Tapped Out game.
Okay. No.
Oh, yeah, like it's just totally insane. But I can watch. That's one of those shows where I can just turn on like old episodes, and I've seen some of those episodes like at least 100 times.
Oh yeah,
like, at least.
So, well, I found out like we have. I just found out with my Keel package. I have the FXX.
Oh yeah, and you can watch every episode.
Yeah, it's all on there in demand. I didn't know that.
Ever like it's crazy, and they have like playlists, and like because I remember like I had that app. And like I was like, man, I would love to watch some Christmas episodes, like when Christmas came around, and they were like, "Here's all the Simpsons Christmas episodes." I was like, "Holy shit!" And like the Halloween episodes, I mean, the later ones have gotten pretty ridiculous, but those are like a staple. Like,
yeah,
I remember when the first one aired, and like everybody was talking about it in school, and then it became like this thing, like every year, where when my parents, I remember because a couple years it actually aired on Halloween, like when I was in junior high school, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom, the year my mom was like, "You can't trick or treat anymore. You're too old." And I was in 8th grade, and I didn't think that was too old. I was like, I think that's on the bubble. And because the thing is, I lived in such an awesome trick or treating neighborhood when I was growing up, and like. Every year, my brother and I got like better and better at like what we did, and we like to the point where
really well.
Oh, dude, we would extend our range by setting up midpoint bathroom stops at like friends' houses, like so we could go for like miles, like, and we'd come back. I remember we had like double pillow sacks, like by the end of our reign, like. Because I remember, you graduate like as a kid. You start off with like your little like McDonald's pumpkin, or like you're like whatever, and then like once you get to pillowcases, like it's on,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that the year I think this was like probably like this, but then I remember not being so bummed because then I could watch the Halloween special, like when it aired, which was a big deal, and then I had the jump. I had the jump on it. Like the next day at school, because people would watch like the next day because they were trick or treating or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, Simpsons, awesome, and then what else? Okay, so I got some notes here. So you run a website called agentsofguard.com.
Yeah, I co-write
a little bit about that.
Yeah, I co-write it with 6 other folks. Basically, we blog whatever we feel like we're really into. Most of it, generally it's nerdy geek stuff. So it's comic books, video games, movies, books, anime. We actually had a couple ones about D&D. We had a lot of articles about D&D and role-playing games. So
Nice.
it's a lot of it's just opinion pieces. Some news here and there, but we're not. All of us have like day jobs and lives, so we really can't be on top of the news as much as we would like to. That's why I kind of put a lot of my opinion pieces on there for movies and directors and comic books, movies and things like that. Mostly, we just run that as a site for just for putting our opinions out there. And there's like 7 quote unquote agents who write on the site, and a couple of guys we call reserve agents who write when they feel like it. But we have 7 regular consistent.
Like your Matt Bensons.
Like our Matt Bensons.
I really enjoyed his X-Files articles. I thought they were pretty spot on.
They were good. Yeah, I haven't
especially because it helped me, like, because I was watching and I'm like, is this bad? I feel this is bad. And then I'd read like Benson's article. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
like I'm not crazy. Because like I would like for me like those episodes were like 50-50 bad.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt's. Yeah, if you haven't, check it out. If you were conflicted on your feelings on the X-Files season that they just did, Matt kind of nailed it in the head. I thought. Yeah. Actually, I even used his like kind of. He did this like article about the episodes to watch before the season when it came out, and I actually used that as a guide to revisit the show before I started watching the new show again as a good reminder of what I liked about it. So
like I wasn't as upset as some people were about like some of the choices they made, probably because it's been so long since I watched a show, and I had stopped watching. Like I watched the first few seasons like of the original show like religiously, and then like I gave up on that show. Like even like I thought the original show like went into like jump the shark, which most people, when you really think about it, you can even get a diehard fan to be like, yeah, like especially like when at the point where like neither Mulder or Scully were on the show.
Yeah, like, they were trying, and I think that was the thing where it's like you can tell them trying to keep that show going, and the reality is like, yeah, no, something's lost and it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. I was an extra on an episode, but it was like right towards the tail end where they were both still on it.
Seriously? What episode was that?
Yeah, it's the episode where it's the episode with Randall Tex Cobb where there's doppelgangers and he's a wrestler.
Okay.
And they filmed a wrestling scene at the LA Olympic Arena. And this is where I kind of got a taste of how the business actually is. So I was like, oh, this will be like a afternoon thing, like because I found out about it. I wasn't like a total like X-Files fan. I was a hardcore wrestling fan. And this was in 2000, and I was a huge ECW fan. Rob Van Dam was like my favorite wrestler, and he was a wrestler on that. He was a wrestler in the episode. He wrestled Randall Tex Cobb. If you're a fan of Raising Arizona, he's the motorcycle apocalypse guy.
Oh wow,
bounty hunter guy. And so I found out on the ECW website, they're like, if you want to be an extra and meet Rob Van Dam, like sign up here. So my roommate and I did it, and I didn't think it was gonna be a big deal. And then I got these crazy instructions, and then they're like, oh, this is gonna take 2 days. And I was like, oh, crap. And it was like two 13-hour days I swear to you, this wrestling scene is like maybe 2 minutes of the episode.
Did you get paid for that?
No, we didn't get paid. We got free pizza.
Well, I mean, that's something.
And that's about what you can expect as an extra. And like, it was the most boring, like, because like 9/10 of it is just sitting around. And that's where I realized because at first I was like thinking about trying to get into the business and like maybe getting PA work because a bunch of my friends were doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I saw like what the PAs actually did. And I was like, oh God, like, no, thank you.
I was a PA. That was my main job for about 5 years after film school, was being a PA. And I'll tell you, man, it's rough.
But that's paying your dues right there.
But there's a thing where it's like paying your dues, and then I would still say being a PA, if you're a filmmaker who's starting out, I still say definitely be a PA for as long as you can do it. Because it's, if not, like, people say paying the dues, people say
but also you learn about like everything about a film set.
Yeah. And I think for me it's like when you see how my personal opinion for me is that when you see how the higher ups treat the lower downs, and you see how things don't get done if they aren't being treated properly. I think it's a big lesson from that. Like the last shoot I did as a PA is a skateboarding video.
Oh, I saw that on your IMDb page.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was the worst thing I've ever done. And the producers were, well, I mean, I'm probably sure never going to work with these people again, so I'm not worried about ruining this part of my life, but they were terrible. And the director was awful. Like, it was just awful bits, and just I don't know, just seeing how they treated us, the PAs, and by the end of it, and just seeing how the rest of the crew's morale higher than us, each step got worse and worse. And for me, it's like, if you're not respectful to the people if you at the top are not respectful to everybody involved, then I think your shoot doesn't go well. And people, generally the whole point is that you have a whole crew of hundreds of people. You have to keep, I wouldn't say keep happy, but you have to make sure that everyone knows what they're doing and everyone knows what their job is. And if you're treating everybody like they are things you can move around, then things don't get done to the degree you want them to get done. And you learn that by being a PA and seeing someone from the top do that to people. And that's why I say start as a PA, but don't expect being a PA to lead into bigger, leading to a directing gig or etc. I just say learn as much as you can, take the lessons you can get from it, and then move on and try to figure out what your next step is, but not relying on being a PA for your next step.
Yeah.
So there's my 2 cents advice to anybody who's listening to that. But it was, I've worked on big projects and small projects, but that was a crazy 5 years of my life. That was ups and downs, mostly downs. As a PA.
Or do you have headphones?
All right. Hello. Yeah.
Okay, because I can hear myself.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I think something, I don't know what happened. Okay. All right. So have you determined that next step, or where are you at, like, with your creative pursuits?
Creative, I do have a day job right now, but creative pursuits, I've definitely been setting up a new music video that I'm going to direct.
Oh, that's cool.
Low budget music video. I'm actually an associate producer on a feature film.
Oh wow, nice.
We have to still wait on some funding, but it's we did a Kickstarter on the film a couple years back, but now we got even bigger funding, hopefully coming in. But I did some story notes on that, did some punch ups on the script, and that's a film that's gonna be, if it works out, it'll be crazy. It's gonna be this superhero comedy Filipino American story. I think the way I kind of tell is it's like the Filipino Machete.
Nice.
The way I kind of pitch it. It's gonna be crazy and goofy and hopefully a lot of fun. And the title, as of now, the title is called Lumpia 2. And I think the official title will be revealed much later. But that's the next big project I'm involved in. And a bunch of other short films and other things I'm trying to wrap my head around. And a comic book I've been working on with a friend of mine too. So.
Oh wow, okay, so you're doing a lot of different stuff.
I'm trying.
Is that the web comic, or is it an actual comic book?
It'll be a web comic.
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
I'm a big fan of web comics, as everybody knows. We have our web comics. I think you've attended one of our panels.
No, not yet. Are you going to do WonderCon?
Yeah, we're doing WonderCon.
What day?
So speaking of that, we got to take care of some business.
Oh, sure.
If you don't mind. So we will be at WonderCon. We're going to be there Saturday, March 26th. Our panel is they have announced the schedule, so it's up online. There's lots of cool stuff happening. I'm very excited. Hopefully I can finally go to a Bob's Burgers panel. That's on Friday. And then Phil is super excited because his idol, which I wish Phil was here to defend himself, because I don't know, it always elicits, but Phil loves M. Night Shyamalan.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
So Shyamalan's gonna be here because apparently I didn't know this. They're doing a Wayward Pines season 2.
Really?
Yeah.
People watch season 1? No offense.
I had heard it got canceled, but I guess they got uncanceled. Because that seems to happen now. Like I think somebody else picked it up or something happened.
That's true.
So he's actually going to be there because I remember I was with Andrew Lindy and Matt Benson because we went to we were at the Wayward Pines season premiere panel because it was before the at WonderCon last year because it was before the Last Man on Earth panel, which is what we actually were there for. And I remember watching the Wayward Pines pilot with them, and we were just like, "This is terrible." But of course, Phil loved it, and that's where I kind of got on this whole thing with Phil because I'm like, "Have you watched Twin Peaks?" And he had never seen Twin Peaks before because it's a total Twin Peaks ripoff.
That's what it looked like.
And I don't know. I mean, added with some Shyamalan bullshit. I mean, well, it's based on a book, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so Phil's excited because Shyamalan's actually going to be there, but knowing Phil, but I don't know. That seems like something where Phil will actually wait in line for and actually try and get there. Because Phil always says like, oh, he's one of those guys where it's like, oh yeah, I want to do that. But then like, cause you know how it is at cons. Like for a lot of that stuff, like you got to be willing to camp out and wait in line a long time. And Phil's not really down with that, which is cool. I mean, I've gotten in my older age like. I'll only really wait for like big stuff. Like, we'll get into that in a little bit. But so WonderCon, we're going to be there. It's March 25th through the 27th at the LA Convention Center this year. And our panel is Saturday from 8:30 to 9:30 in the PM. I think they like putting us in those. Yeah, we actually like at Comic-Con, we had like the biggest attendance of an after 7 p.m. panel they ever had.
Nice.
I think that's where we're locked in, which is awesome. I'm totally cool with it. But we are going up against the Masquerade this year, which I don't think the Masquerade's as big of a deal at WonderCon, but whatever. If you're a cosplay person, that's a big deal. But anyway, so it's going to be in room 502A, and that's our Webcomics Advocates panel, and it's always a good time. And Andrew Lindy will be moderating our panel this year because, as we've said before, Josh Anderson is going to go see a cat band.
I remember that. I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
But so first time moderator Andrew Lindy. Maybe the last time. We'll see.
So basically, Andrew, don't screw this up if you're listening to this episode.
I think he'll do a fine job. That's why we selected him.
I think Andrew would do good too. Yeah.
Benson was a little upset. But
is it because you asked Andrew first instead of him? Or was that?
I mean, I don't know. Just being, well, I don't want to get into it, but I mean, Andrew seemed like a lot. He seems more of a moderator to me.
Anyways,
so are you going to be at WonderCon?
I will. Yeah, definitely. Saturday and Sunday for sure. I'm going to have to skip out the first day, but yeah. I'll be there for sure.
I'm still trying to evaluate if I want to take I was thinking about taking the Metro out there, just because the parking situation at the LA Convention Center is always very dicey.
Yeah.
Unless you want to park like in a not nice area.
And I've done that too for that convention center.
Oh yeah. Well, I've done it for I go to Staples sometimes for WWE events, and I'm just apprehensive this time because the last time I went to Hell in a Cell, and I have this set of lots that I usually go to that are like $5, but they're like in downtown, and after a certain period, after a certain time of night, it's not very safe, and I actually got followed to my car. And luckily there was other people in the area, and after that I'm like, and that's where again. I just don't see. There's a lot of speculation, about Comic-Con and everything, and the reason why WonderCon is in LA this year is because they're doing renovations and construction in Anaheim. Because I just don't see LA as a viable place to have it.
No, I agree.
Because you don't have, as I've said before, as soon as you leave that LA Live area, you're in like the worst part of downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah.
We don't have, because like Comic-Con like takes over the whole gas lamp. Like in Anaheim, you have like downtown Disney and all that stuff.
Right.
Which I still don't think is the best, but that's just me. I love Comic-Con. Like I love it. Yeah. And I just don't, I hope San Diego gets their shit together. I really do.
Yeah, I know that they've got this major construction happening.
Yeah, and I'm just concerned now because freaking Spanos, I don't know if you're familiar with the whole Chargers drama.
No, I'm not, actually.
Well, so he's now, so basically they were going to leave San Diego and now they're not. And he's proposing because basically Comic-Con has said, look, we need two things. And this is all, and it's a very simple, they're not like crazy demands. They're like, we need you to expand your convention center. And already San Diego Convention Center is falling behind both Anaheim and LA. So it's something they need to do anyways.
Right.
And then they're like, and also the local hotels need to stop it with the price gouging.
Yeah.
Because that's gotten out of control.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts. So, and those to me seem like very reasonable things. And they keep extending their deadlines. Because I remember this has been going on since like 2008. Like this ongoing, like trying to work with, and then the city is like being crazy. But now Spanos, the owner of the Chargers, is like, well, what I propose we do is, because he wants a new stadium and he doesn't want to pay for it. He's like, I propose that San Diego builds a multi-use facility that would be a football stadium and a convention center, which that's a terrible idea. And that's like, I mean, like, how would that even work?
Yeah.
And also it's never going to happen that the taxpayers would fund, like, the city of San Diego is like super fiscally conservative and politically, for that matter. Like that's like, they would never approve that ever. So I don't know. I think it's all. So now that this convention center thing's tied up in the whole Chargers mess, I'm a little concerned because I just don't want to see San Diego. I don't want to see Comic-Con leave San Diego.
No, I love it. I love that town too much over there too. I think it's such a lovely. It's like downtown San Diego is such a great place to hang out, even when it's not.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's like clear California in all the good ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and man, I've gone to the LA Convention Center a couple times for several events, and every time I go there, I just kind of go, ugh, fine, I have to be here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, plus, I don't think people realize, like, it gets hot even in downtown, like in San Diego, and that's like right by the ocean. Yeah. Like, I don't think people want to be like LA in July. Like, no.
No,
that's gonna suck.
Well, I'm hearing the same people who like Paul talked about, like, well, maybe they could move it. I think the people in Vegas are trying to convince them.
Oh my God,
and
no!
I think that's a terrible idea.
That would be the worst. That to me is like the worst. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, the idea of me not going to Comic-Con is insane. But that's where I'd probably start thinking about it. Like,
do I really want to drive all the way to Vegas? I just think the Vegas vibe is wrong.
And also, Vegas in July is like that's a death hole.
No, it's no.
And also, like Vegas itself is just like, I don't know, because like that's every convention's there, and it's, I don't know, it's seedy and it just doesn't have the vibe. Like, and plus they don't need Comic-Con. They could care less. Like, I love how like Comic-Con has taken over. Like, I love, like, you can go anywhere in the gas lamp, and it's like Comic-Con is everywhere. There's just people everywhere. It's fun. It's safe. Like,
I like. It's even adorable when you see like the not that great efforts. You know, like McDonald's, and they'll just slap. They clearly went to a party city and bought like wrapping paper of like comic book superheroes, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. That's good enough. I'll take it.
Yeah, totally.
I appreciate that, you know.
Totally. Well, speaking of continuing on with our business here, just don't forget, everybody, listen to the show on Stitcher, thumbs up on Stitcher. Go to radiobrendo.com. Click. You can get the link there. And also be sure to listen to all the Benview Network podcasts, including Justin's show, Benview on Spielberg. You guys just talked about Empire of the Sun, which I'd never seen.
Did, Last Crusade, actually, after that.
Okay.
That was the most recent. And then tomorrow's episode, which will be the 15th, we will be releasing Always.
I'm behind then. So I'm getting behind. But I've never seen Empire of the Sun, which you hadn't before you saw it. What did you think?
It was interesting. I think there's a lot to admire in that movie. I think some parts of that film are really excellently well executed, really well. It did kind of lose me here and there. Christian Bale, though, little baby Batman. Or,
that was his first movie, Batman. Wasn't it?
That's his first film. He's great in it. Malkovich, pure Malkovich, pure good old 80s Malkovich. He's so good in this movie.
Yeah.
No, there's some parts of it doesn't really work overall for me, but I think it's a ambitious effort that I really overall liked. I think. Yeah.
Well, so you can listen to that on BenviewNetwork.com. Also, check out all the other shows. Don't forget to check out Phil's new show that he does with his wife, Janelle, Mandarin Orange Show. There's also a new Benview podcast show called The Podcast Review.
Yeah.
Which sounds really cool.
Like, apparently, it is a show that he reviews podcasts. It is a podcast about podcasts.
It's pretty meta.
Yeah, it is. But it's cool, though.
He talks about a lot of podcasts that I'm interested in. It's mostly comedy podcasts. He talks about Get Up On This. He actually interviews people from the shows and when he can and other stuff. Seems like a pretty cool show. So yeah, check out all those, BenviewNetwork.com. Also, this is new information. Like, we've been warning you about this. If you missed your chance to get a free domain name with our DreamHost promotion, I'm sorry, but your time is up. So now, if you want to save $50 off your hosting order at dreamhost.com, you no longer use the promo code. They got rid of the promo codes. Just go to radiobrendo.com and click the DreamHost link, and you will save $50 off your hosting order, and you'll help out the show. Another way to help out the show, Justin, do you use Amazon Prime?
I do.
It's pretty awesome, right?
It is pretty awesome.
It's great. Well, if you want to try, you the listener, want to try Amazon Prime, you can get a 30-day free trial of Amazon Prime by going to radiobrendo.com and clicking that link. And even if you don't have Prime or you already do, you can use our Amazon referral link to buy stuff. We got some stuff. Amazon. What is your last purchase on Amazon?
Practical. It was a charger for my.
It's great tablet. For that stuff, right?
But look, right away it came to my place right away. It was really nice.
It's insane, like how fast they've gotten with their shipping.
They got episodes. They have all the episodes of Batman, the animated series there too. That's
like their instant watch library is great. It's like a good supplement to like Netflix and all that stuff, and they've got stuff that Netflix doesn't have. Yeah, because it's been my experience that if something drops off of Netflix or vice versa, it's usually on the other thing.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Well, like Doctor Who's now on Amazon.
Yeah,
so, they're bringing it back on Amazon. Yeah, it was on Netflix. Now move it over there.
So people go to our Amazon link and they buy stuff, and then we read out the things that they buy because it's just a fun thing. We don't have much stuff this week. Again, you talk about practical. This is about as practical as it gets. We got some Hanes undershirts.
There you go.
Both black and white. I mean, there you go. Just buy you don't need to even go to the clothes store to buy clothes these days. I buy my jeans on Amazon. It's great.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. Once you know, like, I know my size and everything, like, and I know the brand, because jeans, like, everyone is different. But once I got that locked in, I just buy them on Amazon, like, because you can get them really cheap. Then we got somebody must have maybe a new pet or pet problems, because we got a Bissell full-size carpet cleaner, like a pet for pets, for pet stains. And the formula, because I guess this is like a Steam thing. Hey, again, you can buy everything in there. Somebody once bought a toilet. like a full-on toilet. Also, don't forget to check out our Radio BrendoMan Facebook group. Lots of cool links and stuff on there. And our subreddit. You can get links to those at radiobrendo.com. We've got our Clicker Heroes clan, which is a game on Steam and on the web. And that's the clan name is Radio Space BrendoMan. So we've already talked about Mandarin Orange Show, talked about WonderCon. Phil and I have a new project because we're working on some new things. So we have our Webcomics Advocates, which is that's the organization through which we do panels on webcomics. Well, we have a new group called Podcast Advocates. And the website for that is podcastadvocates.com. Go ahead and like us on Facebook. And we got some big things coming up involving a new convention. It's going to be called Comic-Con Palm Springs out here. I live in Yucaipa, but Palm Springs is about 40 minutes away. Justin, I don't know if you've been to Palm Springs, right?
I've been there. Well, yeah, I've been.
Well,
like a long time ago.
They're starting a convention out there, and we're going to be doing podcasting stuff.
Nice.
And hopefully bringing along some of our Benview Network buds. But we're still in the early planning stages, so nothing is 100% confirmed yet, but we are confirmed that we're going to be doing stuff. That's basically through our new group, Podcast Advocates, in partnership with the Benview Network. So very excited about that. So back to you, Justin.
Yeah.
You graduated from the LA Film School?
That's it. Yep.
So how is that? Well, you went to Cypress first?
Yeah.
And that's where you met Benson and those guys?
Well, kind of weirdly. I met Benson after my time at LA Film School.
Oh, okay.
So, because I had another friend who was still going to Cypress at the time. And
you're friends with Nathan, right?
I met Nathan at Cypress College. So
okay, because I know you guys got your whole group and various people know people through different things, but that's cool to know.
Yeah, Nate's also a fellow writer on the Agents of Guard site too.
Right. So you went to Cypress, then you went to LA Film School.
What was that?
So you went to Cypress to study film at Cypress, though, right?
Yeah, I did.
And you wanted more film studies?
I did film studies with and I learned screenplay writing and film studies over there, and that's kind of where I knew that's the life.
Mm-hmm.
I took a screenplay class, and my teacher really loved what I wrote, and I still still have with me like the write-up he did about what he thought of my script, and it still kind of motivates me today because it was really encouraging. And I think the key thing is because I wrote 15 pages of a high school comedy, and he basically told me back, like, I don't watch these movies, these high school films, but after reading your script, I'll watch yours, which blew my mind. So
that's high praise there. That's awesome.
Yeah, if there was no other reason for me to keep trying to figure this out, I mean, it was that. This is the guy who said his favorite film is like The Seventh Seal. You know?
Holy shit, yeah. So
I went to film school, LA Film School, and that was it's the thing that I think is the best decision I've done. At the same time, a decision kind of bit me in the butt because of student loans.
Yeah.
I won't go into that, but I will say that year at film school was amazing, and it was like kind of like film camp is the best way I can describe it. It's like a full year of just like you're taught everything.
And you make a movie, right? Like
make a movie, and that's I got to do. I did a martial arts comedy. I had a friend who did like an X-Files sci-fi thriller. I had a friend who did a weird Tim Burton inspired noir film. Everyone just kind of did their own thing. I had a friend who did a World War I movie that was, I don't know where he got the money, but it looked great. So no, it was a good experience. But like, definitely things to take from it were basically learning how to communicate with a crew if you want to be a director. But also there were some things in the program that I know they don't do anymore. But back when I was there, it was definitely like you kind of sense that the last 2 months were like, all right, well, hurry up and get out of here. So, oh well, but it was cool. It was a great experience. I'm still friends with a lot of those folks I went to film school with. So
that's cool. I have a friend that went to, I guess it's different, the LA Film Academy. That's a different one?
A different one, yeah.
Yeah. So I know there's a few of those schools. Screw those guys.
Screw those guys.
But it's kind of the same thing, and but he's still like, again, you make a movie, and he met a lot of people through there, and they try and help each other out, you know, and work together on stuff, and that's always good.
Yeah. I have one of my, I think of my group of friends, the one who's most successful, he worked for the Weinstein Company for a really long time, being like one of their main sound editors and such. Like I think he did a lot of work on Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon 2 that just came out on Netflix.
Yeah, I actually just started watching it. I wanted to ask you, like, have you seen that yet?
I don't, not yet. I'm a little hesitant on it.
It's, I mean, first of all, I just had to realize, like, I mean, I've always been mixed on Wu Ping as a director.
Yeah.
But I get they needed some kind of attachment to the first film, so I get why they did that.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh is great. And what I've like, I just started it, so like Donnie Yen's not in it that much yet, and I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, same here.
Some of the other guys, and the girl that they got that's supposed to look like that, like, is their replacement for Zhang Ziyi, but is not her. She's not her.
They got Carrie Shum from like Glee, right?
Yeah, that was really weird.
Okay.
There's some weird casting choices, and it just, you can tell again, like, they did the best they could with the money they had, but again, going from Ang Lee, and like Crouching Tiger is one of my favorite movies.
Thank you.
And I love it, and like visually, so again, going from like Ang Lee, one of the most beautiful films ever made, and also one of the greatest scores with Yo-Yo Ma, to not Ang Lee, and basically a generic martial arts movie score, it's kind of jarring.
And that was my big concern with it. Is like,
and so I just have to keep thinking, like, okay, like this. I mean, it's cool with like they got the Green Destiny sword, like all this stuff. There's some cool scenes, but I don't know. I'm my verdict's still out. I'm a little hesitant. Like the reviews are terrible.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be open-minded.
Well, no, I mean, like, as soon as I realized it's not Ang Lee and it's Wu Ping directing it, my brain went, okay, so it's just going to be an action movie. That's
pretty much what it is.
Okay.
With some homages to Crouching Tiger.
And I'm so glad you're a fan of the first one. I meet people.
God, I love that movie to the point where, like, I had some. I mean, I guess I was deluding myself, but like, I remember like when Gladiator won for Best Picture, I was pissed.
Yeah.
Like, that's how much I love that movie. So I was like, Gladiator is bullshit, and this is like the greatest. Like, I love that movie. I mean, I love what it did for, like, it kind of, again, it was one of those groundbreaking movies, and it opened the floodgates for a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, because like then we got like Johnny Moe and like all that stuff, and that was getting, and also like it was just stuff that never would have been released here before was actually getting released here.
Yeah.
And as a fan of like Asian cinema, that's always a big deal, is access.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
To the point. So like anything that can open the door a little further, I'm totally like, I love. So
were you a guy that had a region player?
Oh shit, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, well,
yeah.
I mean,
language.
I actually, when DVD players first came out, I bought an Apex that you could, there was like a code that you could put in that would make it region free.
I remember that, yeah.
And I had that. Yeah. And then I remember making trips up when I lived to Biola. I would make trips up to Chinatown and buy like whatever I could buy, you know, like whatever I could get my hands on. And then I actually lived in China for 9 months.
Really?
Yeah. And that was like the greatest thing ever, because I watched everything, and like we got stuff before it came out here. Like I watched Kitano's Zato Ichi like before it even came out here. And like I remember telling people about it. I'm like, oh, it's fucking great, and because I'm a huge Takeshi Kitano fan.
Yeah.
Battle Royale, I love Battle Royale, like I love all that stuff. So as living in China for when I did, like it's everything I thought it was going to be and more, because like DVDs are basically free, and you can get any, like because I had a DVD lady, and I would go, like because she had this, like there was like this kind of mini mall place, and I became friends with this lady that ran this DVD stand, to the point where she's like, what do you like? And I was like, I like martial arts movies. I like weird Japanese movies. I want South Korean movies. And she would just bring me stuff and like stuff I didn't even know like there weren't actual DVDs of, but they can make anything a DVD there. You know? So for a lot of it, sadly half of my collection never made it back here. I think customs got a hold of it because I had to have it shipped, right? Because I couldn't fit it in my bag. Because I bought like 1,000 DVDs. Like, dude, like it was crazy. I still have some of it. Like I'm you were talking about Shaolin Soccer. Like I have the real cut of the movie.
Yeah, I do too. But it's getting there. It's getting to that point. I played it so much.
Yeah. So yeah, like and I had all of Stephen Chow's movies, especially back then. Like some of his stuff still hasn't been released here. Yeah, like some of his older stuff.
I was really stoked to see that Netflix actually had King of.
Yeah, they put it. Well, Netflix is kind of awesome for fans of that stuff. Like they have a ton of Shaw Brothers movies.
Yeah, I just which is kind of blowing my mind. Yeah, no, I think for me, like King of Beggars is like an obscure Stephen Chow movie. And I love it, but like I saw that on Netflix, and I told Benson that day, man, Matt, you gotta watch that one.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I was in Thailand when Kung Fu Hustle came out, and I got to see it in the theater. And this again was like months before it came out in the U.S. And I remember sending I posted on my blog. I'm like, everybody needs to see this movie. It's amazing. And like people were like, it's not even out here. And I was like, oh,
sorry.
Sorry. Well, it's gonna come out, and I think it did. I think it got a theatrical, maybe.
It got a huge American release.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that was his big thing.
Yeah,
right.
That definitely got a better release than Shaolin Soccer.
Oh yeah,
like came out uncut from Sony Pictures, and they did a pretty good job releasing that movie. And a lot more people know about that one. That one has a more steady rotation. Than Shaolin Soccer, which I'm hoping someone gives me a proper new version of that on DVD or Blu-ray soon.
And are you a fan of of Chinese dramas at all, like Wong Kar-wai type stuff?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so like I didn't even know about that stuff till I moved. I lived in China, and I had a friend who kind of introduced me to all that. And again, because it was so easily accessible, so I watched all those movies to the point where our fandom kind of almost got us murdered.
Oh, sorry.
Our fandom almost got us murdered because we had just watched Chungking Express, and we went to Hong Kong, and we stayed in the Chungking mansions. Never stay in the Chungking mansions.
Okay, so take that off the list of things to do. Got it.
I mean, you can go there. They have there's like businesses on like the bottom floor. Like if you're big enough of a fan, I would say that's the extent of what you should do, because it was as close to a hostel type experience that I ever want to have. It was very scary. I'll just say that.
Right.
I thought I was gonna get murdered or kidnapped. And it was about the shadiest place I've ever been in my entire life. To the point where my friend who lived in Hong Kong, I called him because I wanted to visit him. And he's like, oh, great, where are you staying? We're like, Chungking Mansion. He's like, I'm going to come pick you up right now, and you're not staying there anymore. And so we ended up staying at his place for the rest of our trip there. So that's cool. I mean, you're big. So are you headed more in a direction of, like, what have you made? Like, are you a director? You want to write, or are you a jack of all trades kind of guy?
I think I've tried to be a jack of all trades at one point.
Are you trying to specialize now?
I think so. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what I'm really good at. And I do remember Robert Rodriguez being kind of a huge influence on me growing up. His book Rebel Without a Crew was a
great book. It's amazing.
It's absolutely a great book, because it is that book that if you don't want to be a filmmaker after that book, I don't know who that person you are, because that book just made you go, you can do it. And I went, I think I can. And I try to be a jack of all trades in that regard, and I'm starting to, but as the years go on, I realize, like, okay, so I suck at sound capturing, at sound recording. I suck at some elements here and there, but I kind of realized like what are places I really like doing. I mean, sadly, and I say sadly because it's not like a easy job to get, but I do really love directing. And then I like writing, but man, I suck at really finishing something on my own. And I realize I'm a person who likes to collaborate with
You
somebody
gotta
else.
do what I did and get a partner.
Yeah, no, and I do.
That's good.
I'm teaming up with several folks on stuff,
That's really
including
good.
I worked a lot with Nathan quite a bit. So
once, like, because I had never finished a script in my life, I had like 20 different like partially completed or even 3/4 completed.
yeah,
And as soon as like Phil and I started working together, like we've written several things and it's like actually done. We're working on various stages of actual production, which is awesome.
that's awesome. Yeah.
We're actually working on a short right now with a friend of ours. It
Is he
seems
doing
like
that?
it's actually going to be made. It's like the first thing that's actually going to happen.
Is it like a, what can you tell me the genre of that one?
It is going to be a comedy thriller.
All right.
It's a comedy that turns into a thriller.
Okay.
But,
nice.
I don't know if that's a thing, but it's gonna be a thing.
That's a thing. That's a thing. You can make it a thing.
But we're in the early stages there. We got this opportunity to work with a friend of ours that's actually made several shorts, and we're just like, man, we could actually get something made if we work with him.
Yeah.
And he was, so it just kind of this again, like we always try to encourage creative people and to get their stuff done, and I'm like, you got to jump on things when the opportunities arise, man. And also always having things, at least ideas, ready to go for when those opportunities do happen. Like,
no, exactly.
That seems to be the key. Like,
I agree. I feel like if you can't keep putting too much things in one. You can't put everything in one basket. You know, all the eggs in one basket. You gotta try to have several baskets and fill them if you can.
Because especially with movies and stuff, like shit happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like we've had some really crazy stuff happen where we've gotten so close to like things getting produced or like deals happening, and then like things can turn around in like the drop of a freaking bucket, you know?
Yeah.
But drop of a hat, I don't know what the correct terminology is there. But also, so going back to your, I just was cribbing some notes off your assorted biographies that I read. I did some research.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So you've been going to Comic-Con since 1996, is that correct?
That's correct.
Man, you're a 20-year veteran.
Yep.
I thought I had a lot of years, but you, man.
I'm going to point out something. I have no idea how I pull that off.
I grew up in San Diego, so I went once when it was like back in like a hotel. But you truly, if you've gone every year since '96, you've truly seen like the evolution of Comic-Con.
Yeah, that's
a trip for me. It's nuts, right? Like it's completely nuts.
I mean, from buying a ticket on a Saturday morning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I always tell the story of in 2005, I drove up, parked like a few blocks away, no problem, walked up, bought a ticket, and then walked into Hall H.
Yep.
And then the next year, I waited 4 hours to get a pass. And then the year after that, everything had sold out.
Yeah.
Like it was but it was also, it's crazy how fast things changed. Like in that level. But then just the evolution of like, because like in '96, right? Like that would be like, that was like, oh, hey, Stan Lee's here, or oh, Bruce Campbell's here. And that was a big deal, like Kevin Smith. And now that's like expected.
Yeah.
Sadly, Stan Lee has said, though, he's done with conventions.
Really?
I think he finally said I think he's doing one more, not Comic-Con. And like, that's it. Because he's 93.
Well, shit, I better get to that one. I still have yet to pull that trigger on meeting Stan Lee.
I got to meet him, thankfully, through my various stuff that I got to do through Smodcastle. I was very lucky.
Oh, nice.
He was awesome.
But no, you're right. It's like seeing the evolution of Comic-Con from. I mean, here's the thing. Like, like you know why you like going to Comic-Con from day one, and you have to kind of like remember why you like go to Comic-Con when it gets crazy.
I'm sure you have some horror stories because you're a Hall H guy, aren't you?
I am, but I've actually admitted, I even did a post about this where like on the site where I've admitted that I think last year is going to be my last year for a while.
Well, now with that whole like, because I remember, I think we actually went to go check up on you guys because you were camping out, you were doing the wristband camp out thing, which that's insane.
I've done the camping out 2 years before that. And to say that camp out situation was different from the one you saw me at.
Well, that island where they had everybody on and there was like cockroaches and stuff.
Yeah, here's the thing, and this is the reason why I've decided I'm just not doing this camping out anymore, is that as I'm walking back in line, I had to go get something in the front of the line or something like that, and I walked back to my spot, and it's cold, it's like midnight, and I'm seeing families bundled up and looking depressed. And
it looked horrible. Like I'm like, this is bad vibes. Bad vibes all over the place.
And I'm like going, this is for a commercial for a movie. I can't I can't justify this anymore. Absolutely not. I can't do that anymore. And like, no, it's gonna be. That's the thing. Like, I know when it's great because I love being in that room. But I can't imagine something I have to see that bad to keep going through that again. I just can't imagine that for me.
Were you there this year for Star Wars?
What's up?
Were you there for Star Wars this year?
The Star Wars panel?
Yeah.
No, because I was waiting in line for Saturday.
Oh god!
I heard the concert. Like while we were waiting in line, I heard that amazing Star Wars concert, and we were like, "Oh, that sounds cool." Like we were just waiting in line, and we hear the Star Wars theme, and we're hearing J.J. Abrams is on stage, and we're like, "Oh, that's cool." Now Harrison Ford. Oh,
so what's your greatest Comic-Con experience?
Oh wow!
Like your favorite, or some of the highlights, I guess. If you can't think of one,
I'll give you a personal one and like a general cool, like everyone got the experience one. The general cool everyone got the experience one. I feel like for me, my favorite Hall H day might have been like 2006 or 7, probably 2006. And I just remember every panel blew us away. And like,
which one was that? What was
I think 300. The 300 footage showed up. Oh my god, I totally forgot the rest. But I just remember being really excited and just ended on a good note, good feeling, good vibe, and we're stoked. We're all happy. That was like a really just good old-fashioned Hall H day.
Sounds like my first Hall H day ever, which was the first Hall H day. It was Saturday of 2005, and it started off with Bryan Singer coming out for Superman Returns.
Yeah, that was good.
And it was the first Kevin Smith Hall H, which became like the huge tradition. There was like Charlize Theron was there for
Eon Flux.
Which
again was a Tenacious D concert, right?
Oh yeah, that was the ending was Tenacious D was there.
Yeah.
That because Jack Black was there for King Kong, but then that was also Serenity.
Yeah. You know what? I take that back.
And Slither and that Slither panel. That was when I was like, oh dude, that because that was James Gunn. Like that was the first time I'd see it, and I was like, this guy's hilarious. He's awesome, and he had a whole big rapport with like Nathan Fillion going on, and I just remember
what I liked about that Slither panel is that James Gunn was a smart enough guy to go, I know you're here for Firefly, so I'm gonna real quick. Hopefully I'll entertain you guys, and then I'm out because I don't want to waste your time.
Yeah.
But it was such a good panel. I think no, actually, I take that back. You're right. That's my favorite.
Because then that Tenacious D concert was like awesome, and that was great. And I stayed there all day. I could barely walk afterwards because you couldn't. That was when like you couldn't even. There wasn't a food thing yet.
Yeah.
So, like I remember I didn't eat.
I looked like you had like if you lucky you remember you brought like something snacks, but I don't think
I didn't realize what Hall H was. It wasn't anything I planned on. I just was like, oh, this seems cool. And then as word got out, then there was a line. I was like, oh, I can't leave.
So So that, yeah, I think I take that back. You're right. That's the year. That was like my favorite like one of my favorite Comic-Con experience. But I'll give you my personal one, and this is something
because
that
everybody's got one of these too. I love these are my favorite stories.
The personal ones, yeah.
Yeah.
I
call it con magic.
Yeah, I was 12 years old, and at the time I thought I wanted to. At the time I was pretty sure I was gonna be a comic book artist. So I was waiting in line to meet Paul Dini and Bruce Timm.
Nice.
And as I was getting in line, I was hoping to have at least I thought maybe Bruce Timm would draw something in my sketchbook, but I didn't. I didn't know any better because he was just clearly signing some posters and stuff. And so Mike Carlin was there too, DC editor Mike Carlin. And I asked for a drawing, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man." Okay, but I remembered I drew a picture of Batman, Robin, and Batgirl in my same sketchbook, done in Bruce's style. And I just went, "Well, can I just show you? Oh, can I show you my Batman picture real quick?" I didn't know why I thought of that real quick. I just figured I just show it to them, and they're like, "Yeah," and I busted out, and Bruce and Paul were looking at it, and Bruce was like, "How old are you? 12? Really? Yeah."
That must have been so awesome.
I couldn't draw as well when I was 12, kid. Like, that's really, and Bruce was like, "Dude, that's really good. I love what you did here." And they were giving me some great they were pointing out what they liked about the drawing, and they showed it to Mike Carlin, where I was like, "That's not bad." I'm like, what the hell just happened? And even if you can be cynical and say, "Oh, they're just being nice," my brain's like, yeah, but that's amazing for them to go tell a 12-year-old kid to give him the inspiration to go, "Hey, that drawing is great," and for him to go, "You inspired me to draw it, so wow, thank you." So no, that was a really cool. That's something I still keep to this day. I think, yeah, that was an amazing one for me. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I feel like Comic-Con, there could have been a point for me where I would have soured on it, but then I started going with Phil, and Phil already has this very nonchalant attitude about everything, which as soon as I started adopting that attitude towards Comic-Con, like, things really turned around for me.
Yeah. That's the way you got to do it. I agree.
You gotta, like, you can't really, I don't want to say you can't plan, but whatever you do plan probably won't happen unless you want to, like, again, like, camp out or wait hours. Because I remember there was one year where I waited for 3 hours to get into Ballroom 20 for Game of Thrones, and I didn't get in, and it was, like, devastating. And then I waited in line in Hall H with my friend Josh and his wife for another 2 hours, and we didn't get in. Yeah. And I was like, ugh. And, like, that's all. And then I'm like, what am I doing? And then, but it was kind of like, I always say it's like it's like Dr. Strangelove, I stopped worrying and learned to love Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel now. And every year since then has been great. I mean, I always look back at, like, the year where Benson and I were like, all right, we're just going to do whatever. And we ended up doing everything.
Yeah.
But it was because we just kind of like, oh, this looks cool. Let's check this out. And if not, okay. And if it is, if we end up in, that's great. And we just, everything happened. And, like, every year after that has been great.
Yeah. I agree. I had that same realization like 2-3 years ago too. And it's just every year's a new lesson on how to handle Comic-Con. But once I've adopted that mentality, like you, oh man, fucking
yeah, you really have to have, because I've had friends that have, like, flown out from, like, far away, and they plan everything, and I'm already like, ugh, oh no. And they had a horrible experience, and they're like, I'm never doing this again. And I just feel bad.
Yeah. No, I have one friend who's like, oh, I can't believe you're going again. And he just, because he did the same thing at one point, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't know, man. Like, I'm with my friends. I have a whole city that decided for a week to go, we'll pretend to be into your thing.
Yeah.
And I'll go, and I love it. I think it's great,
Right.
And I think I had a good time. Like last year, I just, like, all of a sudden a friend told me, like, hey, Geek and Sundry's got a thing going on. You want to go to that? I went, sure. I didn't have anything planned that night, and I had a blast, and they gave out free drinks. So I mean, like, what can you? Yeah, like you said, you're right. It's like you just gotta go with the flow.
If you're open to, like, because if you're open and you leave your schedule open, stuff will happen. There's so much going on that something will happen, or there'll be an opportunity, as long as you're receptive to it and you're open.
Mm-hmm. And you will find it, I swear. Yeah.
Because I'm one of those guys where like people will be like, okay, I'm gonna be at this thing at this time, and I'm like, I can't commit because I don't, I have to leave myself, and I'm like, if it happens, it happens, but I can't promise anything because when you start making plans and meeting times and all of this, that's when you start stressing out and things start getting, and then you're locked in, like you'll turn down something because you think you're gonna go to this. And like, and so I've just kind of, I'm like, I don't make any schedule plans until I'm there. Like, I'm like, maybe I'll see you, maybe I won't. There are certain friends where like I'm like, all right, we'll meet at this time here, but it's like a very specific thing, you know. But it's usually very loose, fast and loose. Yeah, because that's the way we roll. All right, we're gonna do. We're running out of time here.
Oh wow. Okay.
But man, it's a bummer. I was gonna ask about. We didn't even get to do our media stuff. But do you have time for a quick follow-up episode?
Well, yeah, sure.
All right. Well, we'll do a quick follow episode. Episode is a bonus. Look, I can combine it with Phil and I did a little thing, but that'll work out. All right. Well, thank you, Justin, for being with us, and we're gonna follow up with our media stuff. The rest of our segments, that'll be on Thursday. But thank you, everybody, for listening, and be sure to go to radiobrendo.com. Justin, you got anything to plug?
No, just check us out again, agentcigar.com. I'm on Twitter at Justin Keyson. And yes, again, if you want to hear me and Matt Benson review and discuss every single Steven Spielberg movie he's ever directed, including television, check out a podcast, Benview on Spielberg.
All right. Well, thank you again, Justin. It was great talking to you, geeking out on everything. This was great. And make sure everybody go to radiobrendo.com, BenviewNetwork.com for all Benview Network podcasts, including Benview on Spielberg. And we just recorded a new Popsicles. So that just dropped with me and Derek and Benson. I yelled at Derek a lot about Cloverfield. And we'll get into that next time. We'll talk about Cloverfield with Justin here, and as a preview for coming attractions. And I think that's going to do it for us. So for Radio BrendoMan, I'm Brendan Creecy, and have a good one, everybody.
All
right, awesome. So yeah,
do you want to stop the recording?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Hopefully that worked out.
If not, I have the YouTube, so it's totally cool.
Okay.
But if you want to put that in like Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever you have.
I have Google Drive.
All right. Sweet. So yeah, just send me the link to the file.
Okay.
Once you upload it. So you got time for like a quick?
Yeah.
Because we didn't do any of the media stuff.
I realized that, and I was looking at the time, and I went, okay.
Yeah, so we're trying to stick to this hour-and-a-half format. So, and that's why we went twice a week. So it's kind of our new thing. So I think it'll be fine. We're not gonna. We won't. Don't worry. I'm not gonna make you do another hour and a half. We'll just. We'll just do what we. We'll just go down. Talk
so,
about
how do you want this file to be? You want this to be an MP3?
If you can do a WAV file, that would be awesome.
I can do a WAV file. Okay. All right. See here. Give me a second. I have not used Audacity in a long time. All right. Okay.
You got it?
I think so. Yeah. Okay. I'll go ahead and.
Export audio.
All right. All right. Cool. And I got a new.
All right.
New one. So.
All right. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna do the 1, 2, 3 record thing. Okay.
Okay.
All right. 1, 2, 3, record.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of Radio BrendoMan. I'm Brendan Creecy, and I'm back here with Justin Keyson from Agent Cigar. Justin, how you doing?
Good. Doing good.
All right. Well, we were talking about, we got on a little bit of a geek. That just happens. It's great. That's what I love doing podcasts. Just geeking out about, Asian cinema and Comic-Con. As a Comic-Con veteran yourself, it's always nice to swap stories. So,
yeah. No, that was cool. That was good. Especially knowing that you're like I didn't know how big of an Asian movie fan you are, so I feel like.
Oh yeah,
which is cool. We should probably do a whole separate talk on that alone.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I guess we didn't talk about Japanese movies at all because I'm a huge where are you at with like? I mean, are you a fan of like I don't know. This is it's weird. A lot of people don't it's a weird because a lot of the Japanese movies that I like are I like really crazy Japanese movies.
Yeah.
Battle Royale is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. No, same here.
Are you a fan?
I love Battle Royale. There were two movies I bought at Comic-Con that year. It was Battle Royale and Shaolin Soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically spent the rest of that summer forcing my friends to watch those movies.
When did you hear about Battle Royale? I'm always curious about people's stories.
I remember hearing it on Ain't It Cool News. They reviewed it. That sounded amazing. And then they immediately went, "It's a shame you won't be able to see this for a while." And I'm like, "What? Wait, don't do that to me." So I think, I don't know, was it 99 when that movie came out? I don't even remember.
It came out in 99, 2000, because I didn't find out about it until Kill Bill. And,
oh, wow.
So 2003? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was pretty tuned into the kung fu and that stuff, but I hadn't really gotten plugged in to Japanese cinema that much.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was obsessed with Kill Bill, completely obsessed. And I loved what's her name? Chiaki.
Oh,
the girl who plays Go-Go.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, she's really cool. And then I remember reading an interview or some article that Quentin Tarantino did where he basically just listed all of the influences for Kill Bill, and he kept talking about Battle Royale, and I was like, what is this? And then I read the synopsis and read things about it. I'm like, oh my God, this sounds nuts.
Yeah.
And then she's in it, and he's so he's talking about Battle Royale, and I remember watching, because this was even before YouTube, but I found I downloaded a video file, and it was because he did almost like a trailer for it, where it was a trailer with him in it talking about the movie, and I was like, okay, how do I get this movie? And at the time we had I even tried to, this was pre BitTorrent, and I looked for it on Kazaa and I couldn't find it, and I was like, how do I see this movie? And I lived in Missouri, so that was, at first I was like, I'm never gonna be able to find this. But there was, luckily I lived near Columbia, Missouri, which was the college town, and where Missouri University, and there was one of those cool independent art house video stores, and they had a Japanese cinema section, and they actually had the 2-disc Battle Royale Gaiden, the director's cut. And I remember renting it, and I immediately burnt a copy of it because I was like, this is insane. Like this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And from that, I like fell down a rabbit hole of like got into because then I was like I got into Takeshi Kitano and like his movies and like all those gangster movies that he made. And then I found out about Takeshi Miike.
Oh my god.
And like, yeah, his movies are crazy.
Miike is one of those guys where I love Miike, but I also know I don't love everything he's done.
Yeah. Well, the first movie I ever watched was Ichi the Killer. That movie's nuts.
I think I remember watching Ichi the Killer for the first time and just kind of going, the hell did I just do?
Yeah.
What?
I felt like it was weird because also I was going to a Bible college at the time, and I remember a kid. I swear to you, one of the guys that watched it with us, because I didn't even have a copy. Because there was another film geek. Like I found, you know how it is with us film nerds. We always manage to find our people no matter where we are.
Yeah.
And so I had found the other film nerd at school, and he had a bootleg copy of Ichi the Killer, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna watch this," and we mistakenly watched it with some other kids who had no idea what they were in for. Because it was crazy and bad idea. And he immediately, I remember this guy got up and was like, "We're all going to hell."
Okay, so you see, obviously you must have seen Audition then.
Well, then I watched Audition and it scared the shit out of me.
I watched Audition the way you really should have watched Audition, and I don't know how that ended up happening, but a friend of mine just simply went, "Hey, you should watch this."
That was how I watched it, like not knowing anything.
You didn't know what the movie was about either?
No knowledge.
Okay, great, awesome.
Because I mean, I'd seen Ichi the Killer, but that's all I had. I thought maybe it would be like that, so I was already like, "Oh my god, what am I getting myself into?" But not really, because it's completely different, and like it's shocking. It's still, I can't watch that movie again.
But I mean, that's the thing. That's kind of the crazy thing about watching those two, and why I'm a Miike fan overall. Is just those two movies are so different from each other.
Yeah,
and you think like some directors kind of stay in the style and they kind of do variations of what the same thing over and over again, and which is fine. I like that too. But Miike is the kind of director where you just go
all over the place.
Like
I think a lot of those guys are. I mean, you look at Kitano, who made I guess in his early career, I guess he made all those gangster movies, but that's also coming off of he hosted a game show.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for fans of Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, that was basically they took bits and pieces of his Takeshi's Castle show.
Yeah.
And then he also was he was a comedian. He was a wrestling manager. Because he worked with, when I found out about, like, I just recently found out about, like, I don't know how, are you a wrestling fan at all?
I'm not.
Okay.
But let me know that my housemate is, and Benson is. So
yeah. Are you familiar with the wrestler Vader?
Yes, actually. So
I didn't know this until just recently when I got a New Japan. I've been really into New Japan Wrestling, and they have a website that's like the WWE Network. So I'm going back and watching a lot of their old stuff. So Takeshi, they brought in, I guess business was really slow in the late 80s, and they needed like a big heel bad guy stable. So they brought in Takeshi Kitano, who was really famous at the time, and he basically did this whole invasion thing. And he brought in Vader. That's when Vader made his debut, managed by Takeshi Kitano. And it was so crazy, and people were so like Kitano started a riot in the Japanese sumo hall, and New Japan was banned from the sumo hall for 20 years. Like, it's this guy, when I read the story, it's nuts. But Kitano, like, I guess you could compare him. He was like Sacha Baron Cohen meets Russell Brand meets, like, he was one of those like Andy Kaufman, but then he was also this genius filmmaker. And he wrote a best-selling book.
Yeah.
Like, he's done everything. Like, and then like he's done dramas, comedies. I watched have you seen Kikujiro?
I was gonna bring up Kikujiro. I love
Like
Kikujiro.
like that movie's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's nothing like it's like talk about like I didn't know what I was because I'm like when is he gonna start? Because I had come off of like watching all his gangster movies, so I'm like, is he gonna start shooting people? But like no, it's like a dramedy.
Yeah.
And like a coming of age story, and it's like beautiful.
No, he's and funny enough, like you heard that he just got cast in the Ghost in the Shell remake.
Yeah.
Right? And that's I don't know how I feel about. I'm
well, the rest of that casting is kind of nuts, right? Like that's what's pissing people off.
Mm-hmm.
But now that he's in it, I'm like, I feel like I have to see this now.
Right, and to be fair though, it's not like Kiteshi. He's not prone to saying no to bad American high-tech movies because he was also in Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah, I guess that was my first real exposure to him without even knowing it. Was like
he's the villain in Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah. Like I didn't know the significance of who he was until much later. Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of his and Mike, and then I know you've watched. I started for a while. I was like I haven't watched a lot of. There's so much stuff on Netflix. Like that's where it gets overwhelming. Because I watched because I guess now they're doing. So did you watch Machine Girl?
I have. I saw
that movie is awesome.
I saw Machine Girl in the theaters, actually.
So I guess now there's like a crossover movie where it's like Machine Girl teaming up with some other character.
What?
Yeah, I think I read this somewhere. Maybe I imagine. I don't know. I feel like half of the Japanese movies are like, did I dream this or is this a real thing? Because like, they're so crazy.
Have you seen Tokyo Gore Police?
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. I think that might be I think it might be that. I think it might be like Machine Girl and Tokyo Gore Police or something.
Oh,
I love those movies. I mean, like, but they're not it's because like I said, like you can't just tell people like, oh, watch these. Because I mean, you can with the right people, but like I've like put friendships in jeopardy.
Have you seen I'm trying to think of the name. It's this Love Exposure.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that one. It's directed by a dude named. Give me a second. I'm actually looking up the information again right now. Okay, it's a Japanese filmmaker by the name of Shino Sono, and he actually has a movie on Netflix right now called Tokyo Tribe, which I've been meaning to watch. But Love Exposure is insane. It's 4 hours long. Fuck, I don't know how he pulled that out. It's a 4 hour long movie, and I can't even describe you the plot because it seems to be.
I love that stuff. I love it. Like I eat that stuff up.
And what kind of blows me away with this movie is that it kept my attention for 4 hours, and I'm just like, how I should be bored. I should be driving myself nuts, but yet this movie completely got me. So he's made a couple movies after that, and if you check it out on Netflix, I haven't gotten to it yet, but he has a movie called Tokyo Tribe, and the trailer of that looks insane, like a Yakuza musical thing. It looks awesome.
Okay, so maybe I can run my theory because I've talked about this with people, and I've actually pieced this together from various interviews with Japanese filmmakers, because people always wonder, like people make fun of it's like a joke now, like, oh, the Japanese people are nuts. But but I think there's I think it's unfair, but I think there's also I think there's some reasoning behind the extremes of Japanese cinema. Yes. And I think the main reason is like these people had an atomic bomb dropped on their cities. Like I think that kind of does something to you as a culture.
Yeah.
Where they've seen true horror.
Yeah.
In a way that most other people haven't. And so I think that is one of the reasons behind why their horror and their stuff is so messed up. And I mean, some of the like Kitano and also I think I read about like Shimizu. Is that how you say his name? He talked, it's the same thing. Cause they're like, when you have experienced that level, that kind of horror, like normal horror just doesn't do it for you.
You're not going to get a cat to jump in frame and go boo. No, you have to. Because,
like, again, like these older, especially these guys that were older, like, you know, Fukasaku and Kitano and these guys, again, they survived the atomic bomb.
Right.
So I think that did something to them as a culture. I mean, it's funny, but it's also like there is a set. I mean, so again, I think about things like, have you seen Grave of the Fireflies?
Yes.
Most depressing movie ever made, right?
Yes. And they made a live action version of it too.
Oh, are you serious?
I'm not. Yeah, look, I don't know why you want to.
I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch that. But I think about that because, like, because that you're watching. Oh, this is from there. Because again, you watch something like Flags of Our Fathers, and these, and you see from our point of view, and then when you watch something like that from the Japanese point of view, and you're like, oh shit, like. Like that's and then I think about that, and I think that's because like it's like, yeah, this was a huge trauma for an entire generation of people.
Yeah.
And I think that, to me, that kind of is why they're so out there. That's I think one of the main reasons. I think
that's definitely a main reason. I would not argue against that. And
there's also other cultural things,
right? Like I have a friend who's like Japanese, and he's told me like there's a big part of it too is like the culture itself. Like when you're in public, it's you got to keep a lot of things to yourself.
Yeah. It's so, I wouldn't say repressed, but it's very, because I mean, even in China, it's very similar. It's very reserved.
Yeah, that's the word I would use.
And because it's all about face and putting up like the public face and saving face. So when you're expressing yourself artistically, that's kind of the release.
Yeah. So watching something like a Miike movie where a guy takes off his jacket and all of a sudden he's an 800-pound muscle man for no good reason. It's part of the release, and that makes sense to me in that regard.
I even like in other areas of their culture too. I mean, I think about Japanese wrestling, which is like way more. I mean, I talk about it a lot on here. It's way more intense. It's way more realistic. But then, also, just like Japanese cinema, they have like this Japanese strong style. Then they also have things like, everybody's seen it now. They have like the DDT pro wrestling, where you've got Kenny Omega wrestling a blow up doll, and then you have Joey Ryan came in and he suplexes a guy with his penis. Like the guy grabs, I don't know if you've seen the video, went viral, like has like 11 million hits on YouTube, where the guy grabs his balls, and Joey Ryan like flips him over with his.
Definitely not seen that.
Yeah. So I think that's like, again, like, and they have that's everywhere throughout. I mean, and then like, you got, but then they also make, again, like, because and then I think people see that and they think that that's all it is.
Yeah.
But again, there's such beautiful stuff. I mean, look at like Miyazaki, and again, we're talking about Kikujiro. There's like Japanese dramas they have tons of great dramas.
Oh my God, yeah. Nobody knows.
Yeah,
that one is amazing, and hard to watch as well. But that's like one of the most beautiful. That's definitely a beautiful movie that I've seen, and their extremes are great and they're entertaining, but there's so much. You're right. There's so much more to it than that.
But the extremes are so much more extreme than the extremes here.
Yeah, no. Is there a Miike film you feel like you couldn't have finished?
There's some. I haven't watched everything.
Yeah.
Same here. Because now he seems like he's really mellowed out.
He has. Do I know? I have been curious about Yakuza Apocalypse.
Oh yeah, Yakuza Apocalypse looks freaking nuts.
Yeah, like that's him going back to Dead or Alive status,
But I watched, like, I really like Sukiyaki Western Django for what it was.
Yeah, no, me too.
But it was just, for Miike, like, that was super tame.
Yeah.
And some of their stuff
cracks me up, because it's like, I know a lot of people here, obviously most people here have seen Django Unchained, and I like the idea of like, you should try doing both of those back to back.
Yeah.
like that kind of would mess your brain up because like you're watching Django Unchained, and then if you watch Django Unchained first and then do Sukiyaki, here's Quentin now in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie. And
I kind of also dug the absurdity of just Quentin. All of a sudden, when he starts talking about the story, he starts having a false Japanese American accent. That I don't know. It's a wild movie, but you're at the same time not as wild as say Happiness of the Katakuris. You know,
I watched one that I had a hard time with just because it was so out there. I forgot what it was called. Was it Iso?
Oh, that's yeah. That has
because it was like this guy was like dead, but he was brought back to life.
It was like a samurai. He's like a masked warrior thing.
Yeah. I had a really mostly because I just had a really hard time following what was going on.
Yeah,
and then, but like I don't know, I feel I can handle most of his stuff for the most part.
Izu's yeah, I would say Izu's one of those like a billion ideas at once, and I can't follow what the hell's going on. But when it looks great, it looks great. So
yeah. His Masters of Horror was hard to watch.
Yeah.
Like that was messed up.
Yeah.
Which I love that. I thought that was a great idea. Like, I mean, I love introducing Masters of Horror to people who don't know about it.
Yeah.
There was so much. It was a huge mix of stuff.
Mm. But it was kind of, I mean, it's as a guy who grew up loving like John Landis and John Carpenter movies, it was kind of cool to basically go like, all right, let's just try to, we'll get some condensed Carpenter Landis films and Joe Dante movies. And even though they're not as good as their traditional movies, they're still kind of fun stuff to watch here and there, you know. I like Masters of Horror. The Cigarette Birds was not too bad. That was kind of a cool one. The John Carpenter one.
Oh yeah.
With Norman Reedus. That was a pretty.
Yeah, I still haven't watched all of it. I've slowly.
Yeah.
Because I love anthology stuff though. Like I love it, and it seems like it's making a bit of a comeback.
It's kind of a struggle to bring it back, though. I feel like some people still can't wrap their heads around it. You know.
Yeah.
But I get it. No, those are a pretty cool one. I didn't see the follow-up show they did. I think called Fear Itself.
Yeah, that's the one I haven't watched yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
All right. Well, real quick, you went to Austin? Was it? Oh, excuse me. Jeez. You went? Was that like a family trip or?
It was a family trip. Yeah.
Did you get to go to any? Like, did you go to the Draft House?
Tried. Basically, I was we were actually mostly in San Antonio.
Oh, okay.
My nephew was finished with basic training in the Air Force. So we went to go visit him, and
Austin's kind of one of those filmmaking meccas.
Oh man, I was only in Austin for a little bit, and we all were talking about, so how can we come back here later? But we were at the cusp of South by Southwest starting.
Oh yeah.
So we didn't get the craziness, but it was already in the air. People were already getting prepped for it. But we went to, one of the things my nephew wanted to do when he walked out of the base, he said he wanted to watch a movie, and the first movie he wanted to watch is Deadpool. And so we were looking up theaters, and I was like, okay, I looked on Fandango, and I saw 2 theaters, one which was super close by, and then I saw the Draft House, and I've been dreaming of going to the Draft House for about a decade. And I try to go, hey, they're playing it here, but it's the situation was it was too far, and the timing didn't match up, and I was like, oh, all right, that's fine. I know they're building a Draft House in LA, so
yeah, they've started doing like some screenings at the Regent, which their next one is they're doing like a very special episode. It's like a compilation of like special episodes of like TV shows. They just did Pippi Longstocking, which that sounded great.
Oh wow.
So they're gonna start doing. I've heard there's also rumors that they're gonna start doing some Mondo screenings.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very excited about it.
Okay.
Because they haven't done a Mondo I thought they were gonna do more at the New Beverly, and then once Quentin took over, they haven't done one.
Yeah.
Because I missed out on those. My friend went to the 2 that I think they did 2, and Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I went to the original Draft House, the one that's gone. I went to a Button-Umathon.
Oh wow, which year?
Yeah, in 2003. So it was Button-Umathon 5, and it was the greatest experience of my life. I talk about I sat next. I was sitting next to Paul Dini and Brad Bird.
Oh wow.
It was Return of the King, and I met Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyens, and then Harry as a happy birthday gift to Peter Jackson, since his favorite movie is The General. They screened The General with the. Have you seen Waking Life?
Yeah.
You know, the Forsyth Orchestra that does all the music, and they're in the movie.
Yeah.
So they did the whole soundtrack to The General live.
Oh shit!
It was incredible. And then it was like, I think what was it? Oh yeah. So speaking of Asian cinema, we saw, it was the first subtitled print of Old Boy.
I remember reading about this.
On its way to Harvey Weinstein. Hadn't even, it had just come out in Korea. We were the first US audience to see it. And as somebody, again, I was just getting into all that. That movie blew my brain open.
Yeah.
Like, we were all just like, whoa. Like, holy crap. It was crazy.
That's a good Button-Umathon.
We saw that. And then Mel Gibson was there with The Passion, which is nuts. And I met Mel Gibson. This was before everybody, like all the crazy stuff happened. But that was kind of crazy. And so it ended up being like 27 hours. So I thought I was going to die, but I made it. And then I think, what else? Those were the big ones. It was like Return of the King and that, but there was a lot of great stuff. And like, again, get to talk to like Ahmed Eli Roth and just talking to Harry. I mean, Harry Knowles is awesome. He's such a cool dude. And his dad was like, I'm like, can you adopt me as your grand? Because he was like the coolest dude in the world. And everybody was cool, and it was just such a fun experience. It was like it was one of those first experiences I had where I'm like, oh, these are my people.
Yeah.
Like, you can talk to anybody there about it, and they know what you're talking about, and they're not like, oh, shut up, nerd. Like, like most of the people in there were like bigger film geeks than I was. It was nuts. And also the Draft House is just an amazing facility. And like, I've heard the new one, the Ritz one, is even more awesome. So that was really cool. But speaking of Texas, I wanted to put this out there for the listeners. So I'm going to be in Dallas at the end of the month for WrestleMania. And I finalized, my plans are finalized. It's going to be kind of nuts. I'm going to 8 wrestling shows, 4 days. I did 7 in New Orleans, so this is going to break my record. So I'm pretty excited.
In 4 days, you're doing 8 wrestling shows?
Yeah, because there's all these indie shows that kind of because it's like this whole week now of WrestleMania. So there's all these indie shows. There's WrestleMania. There's Monday Night Raw. So I'm going to those, but then I'm also going to all these other indie shows. And they because I was at 7, and then they put up. Then somebody is doing an indie show after WrestleMania, like down the street. So like it starts at like 11 at night. But like a bunch of like Jake the Snake is gonna be there, so I'm like, oh hell yeah. And then some other cool indie guys, and so so I'm doing 8 shows.
That's nuts.
And so I'm really excited, and but I was gonna ask the listeners. I know we have some listeners in the area, and I'm looking for recommendations for food. Like, because, you can Yelp and you can look around, and I know there's some stuff. When you were in Austin, did you happen to like go to any place cool? Did you go to like Texas Chili Parlor or any place like that?
When I was in Austin, here's the thing. I was in Austin for literally only a couple hours.
Oh,
I know. I will say this though. I think it's a chain you can find, a small chain, not a huge one, but it's a place called Rudy's.
Oh yeah, I'm aware of Rudy's.
Okay, so I had Rudy's, and that was really great. Austin. I mean, here's the thing. When I went to Austin, I went to kind of like a cool, like my cousin lives down there, so we were hanging out with her for a bit, and she took us to like this. I'll say this like kind of foo-foo high-end restaurant. It was great, but definitely not what we thought we were going to do on our first night in Texas. But it's called Key. But I'm trying to think of
are you a Tarantino fan? Like,
I am a Tarantino fan. Yes.
So, because yeah, I would, because like, because you know, I don't know, like I love Death Proof, and so I'm actually thinking about maybe because Austin's not that far from Dallas. I'm thinking because I have like a whole day where I'm not doing anything. I'm thinking about driving up just to because I just watched Death Proof again because I watched everything after like it seems like every time a new movie comes out, I have to watch all of them again.
Sure.
And so I just watched Death Proof and I'm like, oh god, Death Proof's so good. And so now like I really want to go to Texas Chili Parlor, like the restaurant that they like half the movie they film there.
Yeah.
And so now I kind of have to go. Thinking about it. I'm really thinking about it. And going to the Draft House. And I want to go to Mondo Gallery because sometimes they sell prints there that you can't get anywhere.
I saw the pictures from the recent from Mondo Gallery. It looked,
oh gosh,
it looked great. I'm bummed that it's a funny thing too. Part of me kind of kills me a little bit. Whereas like I was in Austin during the cusp of South by Southwest, and I've been wanting to go to South by Southwest for a while.
Yeah.
And here I am, and I'm not near it. Like, I'm not getting.
Yeah, it's always a little frustrating.
A little bit, but I mean, I was there with family. I had a great time with family, but there's a part of my brain's like, I gotta go. I even kind of did this as a tweet though. It's like I would love to go to South by Southwest, but I feel like if I go, I don't want to go as a fan. I hopefully would be there for business, and it'll be either I
feel the same way.
I'm there as a press member, or God forbid, and hopefully this is true, I'll have a film there in some fashion. I'm involved, but
I want to do like a live podcast or something there. Like that'd be cool. And then like I'm a huge music fan too, and like so it's always been a dream of mine for music. And then now that the movie festival has become such a big deal, like they're showing the Pee-wee movie there, and like I can't wait for that Pee-wee movie.
Yeah, I know.
It's showing on Netflix. It's going to debut on Netflix too, of course. But like that's going to be the first time they're doing a live Lucha Underground event. Like there's going to be all. I mean, Obama was there. I mean, shit.
They premiered the Preacher pilot from AMC too.
Oh yeah, they're going to be at WonderCon. So I'm hoping maybe there'll be some. Maybe they'll screen it. I don't know. Ooh. I know they're doing a panel, but I don't know if they're showing it at the panel.
You gotta give me something though.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Because that's dude, I'm excited about that. Are you excited about that?
I'm very much excited for that. Yeah, I finally started reading the comic.
I've read the first one. I need to read, but it's just such a cool thing.
Yeah, no, it's such a cool book. And like I'm already liking the vibe from the trailer that I saw.
Especially AMC has proven that they can do that stuff. And they're not gonna like get like in between, except for second season of Walking Dead. But that was Mad Men's fault, as we found. Like I mean, that new Darabont just finally, I guess a statute of limitations because he's like, yeah, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Because that's why they were on the farm for the whole season, and you only saw like
trying to figure it out.
But yeah. All right. So yeah. So any listeners in the Dallas area, I'm looking for recommendations and also other stuff to do. Like I'm definitely going to Daily Plaza. I've never been there. And because I've been watching. I don't know. Are you have you read or watched 11/22/63?
No, I haven't.
Because I just watched the newest episode, and like they filmed it in Dallas. So I really kind of want to go check that out. I mean, I'm not like a huge like JFK conspiracy guy, but it just it's one of those things. I kind of want to check it out. And yeah, so I'll just and then some other recommendations because while I am going to a lot of wrestling stuff, I do have some downtime, and looking forward to that though.
Yeah.
WrestleMania so they're the two big matches. One is Triple H versus Roman Reigns, which a lot of people aren't that excited about, but I think it's going to be a good match. And then the big one that I'm excited for, that everybody's freaking out about, which could go either way, is Shane McMahon, Vince McMahon's son, he came back, and he's gonna wrestle the Undertaker in Hell in a Cell. And Shane McMahon is known for doing just death-defying stuff. So, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I think something crazy is gonna happen, and I got really good seats, so I'm excited. So, and they've sold. They broke the record for the amount of tickets WWE has sold for an event. So they're probably going to say there's going to be over 100,000 people there, but that's always inflated. But there's going to be in the high 80,000, low 90,000 people there, which is just nuts.
Okay.
So it's going to be crazy.
All right.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Did I lose you? Hold on. I think I lost Justin. All right. Well, that's what's coming up is WrestleMania. So if you guys can,
I think I just lost you for a second.
You're back. You're back.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Cool. Well, yeah. So I'm looking forward to WrestleMania. So anybody in the Dallas area, and be sure to send in. We still appreciate any of your feedback. If you got thoughts on the new format, BrendoMan@gmail.com for listeners and that. But let's get down to our, I guess, media segment. So first of all, what's it called? Book Corner. So Justin, are you a big reader?
Yeah. Now I wish I read more, but yeah.
What are you reading right now, or what have you completed recently?
Let's see. I definitely finished reading Black Widow issue #1.
Yeah, how's that? I've heard good things.
That's really good. I'm a big fan of Mark Waid and Chris Samney, especially Mark Waid, Chris Samney's Daredevil run, which was awesome. Black Widow, it's basically like nonstop action, just well drawn.
They have to do a Black Widow movie, right?
Oh no, especially after reading this. This is practically.
Well, that's what Brian Lynch was tweeting today, where he's like, "This is going to be a movie, right, guys?" Like, come on.
No, it's kind of ridiculous, and especially after this, I almost feel like this comic is almost like a pitch to go. No, but for real.
Hopefully that's what it is. Right? I mean, that would be awesome.
I actually did pick up a book on my trip in San Antonio because we went to visit the Alamo, and I picked up a book on, of all things, because I think I was just curious about it. I picked up a book on David Crockett.
Oh wow, okay.
The book's called David Crockett, The Lion of the West. I'm gonna grab it real quick. It's written by a dude named Michael Wallace, and it just kind of looked like a cool book because he's exploring both like the real historical man, but also exploring talking about how it compares to the
legend
culture version of him.
Yeah.
And I think David Crockett's one of those guys like I'm aware of. I know enough about him to a degree.
Did you watch I don't think I've even watched the movie, the Billy Bob Thornton one.
No, I haven't seen that one either.
So what was going to the Alamo? Was it cool? Was it like Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
It's so funny. I said I was going to the Alamo, and I can tell the guys who are in my age range all asked me if I went to go check to see if there was a basement.
Yeah.
There wasn't, by the way.
Yeah.
But no, the Alamo it's cool. It's interesting. It's
Adobe.
It's cool. It's interesting. I mean, like I like I do like going to history museums and learning about history. So, that was definitely pretty cool. But I think that got me thinking about David Crockett, and
you got that book.
That's why I got the book, and I'm like, I know. I actually legitimately kind of want to know for reals what this guy's deal is. I just know the Disney version.
I always tell myself that I need to read more historical books, and then I never quite pull the trigger on that. But I feel like I should.
Yeah, I think with this case, I figured I was on a trip.
You're there.
Might as well, and I've already started reading. It's pretty good so far. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
awesome. Anything else or any other comics or anything?
Outside of, I don't say I finished finishing Preacher Volume 1. So
okay,
I figured I was reading Preacher in San Antonio. I figured, well, I'm in Texas, I might as well.
Hey, yeah, totally.
How about you, man?
Well, I finished. So I'm big on. I don't know if you're big on like. There's now like bundles are all the rage because there's like the Humble Bundle. Well, now there's like book ones. and there's actually a humble book bundle that they do, and sometimes it's something that interests me, sometimes not. But there's one I talk about a lot. It's called Story Bundle. It's a separate website, and they just did like a video game book bundle, and they're always great. So I finished this book. It's called The Untold History of Japanese Game Developers, Volume 2. And this guy spent 7 months in Japan interviewing basically every game developer like he could meet. And these are the guys that made like all the like old school, like basically video games as we know it in the 80s. Like they created the whole industry. Because that's where it started, was in Japan.
Yeah.
And they were writing, they made a lot of the games were on like computers that like they started off as computer games and they would port them to the Nintendo and stuff. So just hearing these guys' stories, and a lot of them, it's these dudes, they made these games like by themselves, or it was like two guys, and they wrote them because like BASIC and all that, the programming languages were slow at the time, especially. They wrote all these games in assembly language, which is insane. Like it's like I always try to describe people. I'm like, so you know, in the Matrix, when they're like looking at the Matrix, like that's what it basically is. Right. And they're writing the code for these video games in that.
Yeah.
Like straight up machine code.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's completely nuts. And like, and then these are the biggest games. Like I talked to the guy who made like Mega Man and Metal Gear and like bunch of the RPGs like Final Fantasy and like other like arcade games that we played, like just the Adventure Island and like all these games you grew up playing. I mean, I know you do. I did read you're not a real huge video game person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which that's cool. I mean, everybody. I'm not like a total like hardcore person, but I mean, like you don't even own like video game systems, which
I don't. I mean, it doesn't even, that's not even me against anything about video games. I have nothing against video games.
Everybody's got their specialties.
Yeah, and for me, it's like there's so much cool things coming out of video games. I totally admit to that being just like another place of storytelling that you can get, another really cool art form. But my brain's like I'm too it's too costly for me, and I'm too distracted by other shit. Like there's a pile of books that I have in my room I haven't read yet. There's a pile of DVDs I haven't gone through. My Netflix queue is pathetically huge, and I'm just, I feel like I barely have time to finish those things, let alone put 18 hours on a video game, and that's only, and I should know, like 60 hours on a game now.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and that's why I only really play like a couple video games a year, because I'm one of those people that once I do get into it, like I got Fallout for Christmas, and I've played that for like 120 hours. So that's crazy. And I mean, if I had a job, like I wouldn't have been able to do that, but like I don't have a job right now. So
yeah.
But like when I was working full time, like I play video games on my DS, and like and then like some PC games, but like I'm not one of those, because I don't have the time or the money.
Right.
Really. Because that's really what it is. And that's why I think there has been a rise of like these weird indie games and like casual games, because most people just don't have the time for these huge, crazy games. And so reading this book is like, a lot of these games, like, yes, they talk about like crazy Japanese RPGs, but a lot of these games are just very simple games. And but then I think as a creator, there are a lot of very inspiring stories, because again, like these guys, it was just one dude, and then like a lot of like a common thread in a lot of these guys' stories is they made these like insanely successful games, like whole companies were built on them in this huge industry, and they ended up becoming like executives and like producers, and then it seems like without like 9 out of 10 of them get tired of doing that kind of work, because they're like, I just want to make something. So then a lot of them now, they've quit their big huge company jobs, given up all this money just so they can go back to making games again. And like, I don't know, that's kind of cool. Like, that's kind of like because that's why you're getting all these Kickstarters now, where it's these independent creators because they just want to make games. They don't want to deal. They don't want to. They're like the guy's like, I didn't want to I didn't want to sit behind a desk and work, do basically I want to be the boss. I want to just make the game.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, I can totally relate to that. This was really good. Phil got me for Christmas. I don't know if you're familiar with Tim and Eric.
Yes.
I'm a huge Tim and Eric fan.
Mm-hmm.
I got their book, Tim and Eric's Zone Theory. I don't know how they did it, but so it's the filthiest book I've ever read in my life. It's disgusting, but it's amazing. I was trying to explain to Phil because he's like, oh my god, how is it? I have to read it, and I'm like, so imagine the most disgusting parts of $1 Billion Movie in book form.
Oh my god!
And because it's like a parody of self-help books, and it totally makes fun of that. It also I think they're kind of ripping on Scientology and all the other really cults. Because it's basically 7 steps to make your life correct, and and so you have these zones, and it's insane and it's hilarious. I really enjoyed it. Everybody should check it out. And then I finished this book called, it was a novella actually. There's this author I've been getting into called, his name's Dan Simmons. And he wrote this book in the 80s I already talked about previously on Radio BrendoMan called Song of Kali, which is this horror book. And it was one of the most frightening things I've ever read. But this was a science fiction novella about it takes place in the future. Earth has been conquered by aliens, and most humans are basically slaves, but the aliens allow for a troupe of humans that go around performing Shakespeare. And that's what this book is about. It's really interesting. I really liked it. It's called Muse of Fire. It was 95 pages. I got it. It was it was a book bundle. I think it was actually a humble book bundle, because I'll get these bundles and I'll get 20 ebooks, and then it'll take me forever to gradually go back and read all of them.
Right.
And so this one, again, I like the author because he does horror, sci-fi, fantasy. So that was really good. And then Phil got me also for Christmas it was J. Michael Straczynski's screenwriting book. It's called The Complete Book of Screenwriting.
Oh, okay.
And I like it, and it's given me a lot of feedback and ideas. But the problem is, it's published in '96, so it's kind of outdated.
Right. So
what he says about the industry, I don't think any of it applies anymore, because he's talking about printing out and mailing scripts.
Oh god.
And I'm I don't think that's a thing. And but I mean, some of his a lot of the theory and other practical stuff is very useful. But then there's entire chapters on formatting screenplays. I'm you don't even need this anymore because software does this for you. Which it made me appreciate that, because I'm this looks like a giant pain in the ass. Formatting screenplays with a typewriter.
Yeah.
Forget about it. Or in Microsoft Word, setting up the margins and all that stuff.
Do you have Celtics, or do you?
Yeah, I use Celtics. It's pretty great.
Yeah. That's a big sign of that's a big change of the show of the times, that Celtics now a free app you can use.
Yeah, and it does it all for you.
Does it all for you. It does even different formats. You want to write a comic book, you want to write a play.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy about this now. It's we kind of don't need to learn that format anymore. So,
yeah. But then the rest of his stuff is really just structure of stories and breaking down scripts and outlining. It's a lot of, and I mean, he's somebody that I have followed and respect, and he knows what he's talking about. So it was pretty good. And then I bought this book a long time ago, and I never read it, and I've never seen the movie. But now I want to watch the movie because the book is really good. I'm almost done. It's familiar, Never Let Me Go.
Oh, I remember the movie, but yeah.
Carey Mulligan and their clones, and they're basically growing. They grow up to donate their organs to people.
Mhm.
Like that concept is just it's nuts. Like, but it's really cool. But then like so this is like told from the perspective of the like clone girl, and like showed like her whole life, and it's like genuinely upsetting. And because like you're like this clone has feelings and has a life, and then kind of you run yeah, it's really good. It's a really well written
Like,
book.
it sounds like a, a really good dramatic. It sounds like the island took that concept and did a shitty action.
Well, that was the thing. I remember because the island, like it was a total ripoff,
Mhm.
but it was like done really. I mean, Michael Bay, like yeah, because and I did you watch the movie?
Of Never Let Me Go.
Yeah,
No, not
I heard it was really good. I mean, I really like Carey Mulligan.
Yeah,
She's great.
I like it. Carey Mulligan, and I think, and then Andrew Garfield is in
Yeah.
that one too.
Yeah.
I think the director is the guy who did 1 Hour Photo, which
Okay. Romanek,
yes,
which
yeah.
he just directed an episode of Vinyl. I don't know. Are you watching Vinyl?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, dude, it's so good. If you're into music and that culture, and I especially I just last summer I read a book. It's called Love Goes to Buildings on Fire, and it's specifically about 70s music scene in New York.
Mhm.
And that's what Vinyl is about. So
Mhm.
like I was like just fully prepped for this show, and seeing it all on screen
Mhm.
is just like great. And yeah, and he directed I think last week's episode. So like there, and I was worried because you always have that because like Scorsese did the pilot,
Yeah.
which is just so it's like a 2-hour Scorsese movie, and
Mhm.
so you're worried about that like drop off. But they've gotten consistently like really good directors, so this is really cool. But yeah, so Never Let Me Go. That's what I read. So talking about movies,
Mhm.
new movies that I watched. The only one I watched. I don't get out to the movies that much. Are you a Movie Pass guy?
I am not, but I'm talking to Matt and Andrew about MoviePass enough to I'm considering it. But
If
my
I had a Movie Pass theater by where I lived, I'd be all over it.
yeah. So you saw? Did you what you
10
watch?
Cloverfield Lane. I watched 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Okay, I
Did
haven't
you
seen
see
that
it?
yet.
Oh, I thought it was great.
Okay, cool.
I I'm not one of those people where like because I think people again they set their expectations at a certain level, or they set it so high, or they think if it's not exactly what they thought it was gonna be, then they're like, oh, F this movie, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely not that. For me, it was what I thought it was gonna be.
Okay.
Maybe I was just more perceptive, or I clued into what JJ was saying
Mhm.
about it, and I thought it was great. John Goodman, holy crap! Like he should get. I know genre movies. I feel like we're turning a point with genre movies getting like critical recognition and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I think he should get nominated for awards.
For this film.
Oh, dude,
Oh
it's
wow.
amazing. You
I
should.
love John Goodman.
It's a
Period.
must watch. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead is
Oh,
awesome. And I know, yeah, like
there's a
yeah,
good guy in the movie, and I don't know his name, but he's phenomenal in the movie called Short Term 12.
oh my, yeah, that's where he's from. I kept trying to figure out
Yeah.
where he was from, and I love that movie.
Yeah, I love the movie too, and he's great in that. So
And he's great in this. They're all great, and
that's awesome.
they're the three people in the movie.
Well, I was intrigued because I know the guy who directed this was the dude who did that Portal short film.
Yeah, which was great. And he also, I don't know if you ever listened to his podcast. It's a Totally Rad Show.
I've never listened to it, but I know
it is. It's like, and it's again, it's a great like success story because he was just one of us.
Yeah.
Like he was just a dude, and now and like people posted is like you can listen to his podcast episode where he talked about Cloverfield, like as a fan, and then he did this. Like it's nuts. It's just one of those great stories. And him and JJ were just on Nerdist, and I was actually listening to it before I got on here with you, and he just seems so stoked, and it's just so awesome. and it's just again, like, it just makes me happy. And I thought they did a great job. I mean, if you're a fan of, like, I mean, I was on the edge of I freaked out. Like, there's some really, it was very intense.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it was very like Twilight Zone. I really liked it. But have you watched anything in the theater lately?
Sadly, nothing super new. I mean, like I said, I went to watch Deadpool again with my nephew.
So are you a fan
of the film?
Yeah.
I like the movie a lot. I think the movie definitely. I've talked about this where I feel like the movie had a very tricky tone, and I think director Tim Miller, and the writers figured it out.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because it's a movie that's it's stupid, it's silly, yet there's enough real storytelling going on to make me give a shit enough. Mm-hmm. I think Ryan Reynolds it's one of the things where it's like, even though Wolverine Origins is an awful movie, it's an awful movie. Ryan Reynolds, I think almost everyone agreed, well, he's like the only good part in it. And so it's kind of cool that he got to basically kind of nail it and basically prove that, like, no, I had no problem with him being cast as Green Lantern. I mean, the movie's the movie, but I had no problem with him at the idea. I had no problem with the idea of him, but as I was watching the Deadpool stuff in Origins, like, but this should have been the real deal, and he's perfect in it. So I think the movie's a blast. It's not perfect, but it's crazy, it's weird, and it's funny. And
Colossus and Mega Sonic Teenage Warhead.
Oh, God, I love
that. Dude, they're better. Like, now I'm like stoked. Like, I'm like that. I want to see that Colossus, and like I want to see her. Like,
I think that's my favorite translation from X-Men character to comic.
Oh yeah,
Colossus. He looks great.
They finally got like Colossus. They finally did Colossus justice.
Yeah. Oh no, I remember when I heard about putting Colossus in the Deadpool film. At first, I was like, yeah, why would you? It's a Deadpool movie. Why are you shoving Colossus in it? And when you watch it, what I like about it is that you're not putting him in to shove more X-Men. You're putting him in because he's a great counterpoint to Deadpool. Yeah, he's totally. Like, he's the stick in the mud that Deadpool can just react to, and it's perfect. And he's such a goody, and and it's so funny bouncing that off of Deadpool. I don't know. It's such a fun movie. My nephew, of course, loved. I was really glad to watch it with my nephew because he was really stoked on it. And he said he was. I remember he was being really. He was a little bummed because he was going to be stuck at basic training, so he wasn't going to be able to see it until he was done with it. So I was really happy to watch it with him and the rest of my family too. Deadpool, a family film. Who knew? So that was the most recent one. I haven't seen anything new in theaters. So I'm hoping to do 10 Cloverfield Lane, but I also know this Friday Midnight Special is coming out, and I do want to see that. I just saw a trailer for that. It looked pretty awesome. And the reviews for South by Southwest are really good. So have you seen the trailer for Hardcore Harry? I did. I saw a trailer before 10 Cloverfield. That looks crazy. I don't know how I feel about it. I worry about my my motion sickness. See, I don't have that. I know Benson probably will never be able to watch this movie. No, Matt won't be able to watch it. I'm okay, but my whole brain's like, my God, that's the whole movie. I mean, it's the whole movie. It's like some of the stuff in that trailer though, like holy hell. Oh, dude, it looks nuts. It looks right up my alley, especially when I knew I was gonna because the rating comes up. And it says, and it says the reasons, and it was like rated R, non-stop graphic violence, non-stop. And I was like, I don't think I've seen that before in like a description. There's a stunt where I think he's on top of a van, and then Charlotte Copley throws a grenade at him. Yeah, he grabs a grenade, then he throws it in the van, and then the van blows up, and he jumps up, and he jumps on top of a back of another motorcycle guy in one shot, and I'm like, how did you do that? It looks insane, but yeah, I don't know. But I mean, all the reviews of people again nerds. Yeah, that everybody seems to be eating it up. So I think I'm gonna go check it out. I want to see Zootopia. I've heard really great things. I haven't seen it either, but it seems to be. Yeah, I see a lot of people seem to be really, really happy with that one too. So I mean, it's a buddy cop movie with bunnies. and a fox.
And a fox. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love Disney. I mean, you see, I got my Wreck-It Ralph poster
I was
behind
actually
me.
admiring that. That's such a good poster.
Yeah, this is a Tom Whalen, Mondo, Wreck-It Ralph, and yeah, I'm a huge fan of like all their work.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're kind of killing it right now. I think they've been doing really good. So,
well, Disney's making all the money.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, like Civil War trailer. Holy shit!
God.
Even without the Spider-Man, like,
yeah.
Oh
no, I mean, no, here's the thing. Again, like bring up my family. When we were in San Antonio, we were at the base, and we were hanging out at Starbucks, and I finally got some Wi-Fi, and I looked at my phone, and it said Civil War trailers out, and I'm like grabbing my nephew, so I'm like, oh my God, you gotta watch this. Hold on. And again, my nephew has been basic training, so he hasn't been even near the internet, so he hasn't watched anything. So, and I don't know if he knew about Spider-Man in the movie. He's not a super movie nerd like me. So, but he liked the other Marvel movies. So but I know Spider-Man's his favorite character. So I'm showing him the trailer, and I'm just like, please show up. Please show up. I know you're in this thing. You got to show up. And he shows up at the end, and immediately my nephews, just both my nephews, his brother too, they went, what the fuck? Yep. I'm like, you got invited to the party. You know?
Dude, I'm so excited. I mean, I'm so happy that Marvel pulled that off.
Yeah, I love the eye thing. I love the eyes. I love what they did with the Spider-Man symbol. The rest of the costume is understandable that you have to change it up a little bit, but I don't know, man. Just seeing Spider-Man with Cap shield.
And again, his comic is somebody who's been following the comics for basically your whole life. I mean, seeing him with the Avengers is such a huge deal.
I mean, that's a perfect image to introduce him in the movie. Is him holding Captain America's shield, going, "Hey guys," I mean, perfect.
Yeah. That was like the next. Like Phil even was like, "Dude, that's the Chewie We're Home of 2016."
And like you're right, the rest of that trailer is just packed
phenomenal,
just amazing, emotional.
Dude, like Scarlet Witch beating up the Vision, and like and all the and the freaking Black Widow and Bucky and freaking Black Panther looks awesome.
Oh no! I think Black Panther might be my favorite. One of Deadpool looks like he's straight. He's perfectly straight.
I'm so excited for Black Panther.
Oh my God, no! And I love that Chadwick Boswick is so good.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And I can't wait to see what he's going to do with it in the role. I know, like Civil War just can't come out soon enough. So,
yeah, but we also have so much to tide us over. I mean, Friday we got Daredevil season 2 dropping on Netflix.
Yep.
Which, oh my God, Punisher
again, Berthol looks amazing. I like the woman they cast for Elektra. Yeah, it looks. I'm clearly gonna keep busy for Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah, and Pee-wee's Holiday drops.
Netflix has got my money this week. What can I say?
Dude. They just dropped the trailer for Kimmy Schmidt season 2, which looks awesome.
I actually was worried. I didn't hear any talk about a season 2, and when I saw the trailer this morning, I went, "Oh, thank God you're doing it."
Oh, they're on fire. Like I love it. All right. Well, speaking of non-Netflix, DVDs, Hulu, like TV, like what are you watching?
I just finished rewatching Creed on Blu-ray.
Yeah. I still haven't watched it yet. I know I need to.
Have you seen the other Rocky movies?
Oh yeah.
Okay, then you need to. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up watching those, and I'm a big fan. I liked Rocky Balboa a lot.
Same here.
They're I mean, again, they're very as a whole. I love them. I mean, Rocky 5 is garbage.
Rocky 5 is garbage. Yes.
But other than that, I mean, I love those movies.
I love 4, but 4
is ridiculous, but it's also awesome.
Yeah. You got 2 training montages back to back. I mean, but the Creed's great, and I think
I love Michael B. Jordan. So
he's phenomenal. Yeah. What I'd say is here's the thing. I love Rocky Balboa as the last of Rocky movie.
Yeah.
Which is, and I think when I heard what they're gonna do with continuing the character but not making him the lead.
Well, he's like the Mickey, right?
He's the Mickey, and And I think it's sort of cool is that while I argue that one of the cool things about Creed, especially if you're a fan of the Rocky movies, is that Rocky Balboa finishes Rocky's story himself, but there is one dangling thing the movie didn't address is his relationship with Apollo. Yeah. And with Creed is all about that. And it's so great how they respect and find ways to make Carl Weathers' character important to the Rocky character as well as being its own movie. It's a great movie on its own, but then as a Rocky fan, man, when you get to that last fight, oh, dude, let me know when you get to the film, because when you get to that last fight,
it's definitely on my list of things.
I was watching that on the plane trip home to and from back Austin, and it just, I had it on my phone, and the Wi-Fi sucked. I kept trying to, come on, finish it up. So yeah, I've been going through Creed, and I haven't gone through the whole Blu-ray yet, but no. Definitely, yeah. Definitely.
Watching any TV shows?
That's not on Netflix. I'm watching. I'm watching, the superhero. I'm watching the DC superhero stuff.
So you're into those? Because I can't get into those.
I
did not like Gotham at all.
Oh no, I'm not doing Gotham.
I don't like the dude that plays the Flash. Like, I just don't.
I like him personally.
Okay.
I
know Kevin Smith is directing an episode right now.
I know, which I think is kind of cute. That was cool. I mean, I like him, but I admit to them being flawed, like heavily flawed. I can't do Arrow.
I tried to get into Arrow. I couldn't get into it either. It just reminded me too much. I could never get into Smallville, and I kept trying to get into it, and it just reminds me too much of that.
Yeah, and I think especially season 1, when I saw the trailer for season 1 of Arrow, when it came out, it's like, I get it, you want to do a Batman show, but you're not allowed to do a Batman show.
Yeah. So. The only one I liked was Constantine, and it got canceled.
I haven't seen that one.
Constantine was freaking great.
You know what? I did.
Now I guess he showed up in one of the shows. I'm not sure which one.
Ironically, he showed up in Arrow, which I did. Okay. I did see that episode, and I didn't see Constantine, but I liked him.
Constantine was great because it was the only one where they're like, I'm like, oh, this is dark and not in like a cheesy way. Like, I don't know. Like, it was actually like really good.
Yeah. I think the show. I'm even enjoying Supergirl on CBS.
I've heard good things about Supergirl. I want to watch that.
That's not too. I mean, it's they've all got their problems. I think all those shows, including Legends of Tomorrow, which is fun, but man, it's a hot mess.
Yeah,
they all got really strong positive things that I can say, this is what I like out of my superhero fiction. But at the same time, they all have like these massive, like, no one's really overseeing them tightly. So the storylines kind of feel like they're all over the place sometimes. Some of the acting is up and down. But I'll say this, like, no, like, for a guy who grew up watching the shitty Flash show on CBS.
Yeah. Oh, dude, yeah.
And Mantis and
Mantis and
Nightman.
We had like nothing. Nightman. I don't think so.
Nightman was another kind of like this syndicated TV show thing.
Okay, yeah, because I remember early in my life, I watched Greatest American Hero and Incredible Hulk.
Yep.
And that was like a big deal for me because but I mean and those were all right, but then like in the late '80s, early '90s, we had the Flash and Mantis. I remember watching Mantis.
I watched Mantis, but I can't remember. I watched so much Mantis, and then episode what happened in that show. And I don't
remember. I remember he made that. He was like a scientist, and he made the suit.
And it's like
fighting guys.
And like
wasn't that like around the same time because like that was on with like Sliders?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was into Sliders. But no, I mean, like, so even with those shows, I say they're better than those shows, but they still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
Really great.
Do you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I did, and then I fell so behind. Here's the thing. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and start now. Finish up. I'll catch up again.
Just started, like, they came back from hiatus.
So I'm just gonna jump back into it now and read up on what happened before.
You should, I think they're with the Inhuman stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
And they've done some really awesome stuff, and the way it ties in. Again, this is why I love the Marvel side because it is part of the whole big universe. and the way they're tying it all in is great. It's just I really like it. I like it a lot. So that's one of the things I watch is Agents of Shield. I also am an unapologetic, Beverly Hills 90210 fan, and I started rewatching when my the 90210 the Blaze podcast. They do it, but then I went. Now that I'm unemployed, I went way past that, so I'm in season 7, and that show is just so nuts. And these are like, now that I'm in season 7, I think I maybe have watched these episodes like once, and like they're just crazy. I mean, I'm a huge teen soap opera melodrama fan, and this is just like crazy. There's like an episode where like Kelly thought she might have AIDS because she touched the blood of some guy that had AIDS, and I was like, first of all, that's not a thing. and then like the way she like panicked, I'm like, you are setting back the AIDS movement with like, what is this is horrible. Like, it was ridiculous. But like there's just and then like some really weird cameos, and it's like super 90s. Like now we're in like the mid-late 90s, so they're talking about OJ a lot. Speaking of OJ, I don't know, are you familiar? American Crime Story?
I definitely know about it. I haven't seen it.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
Okay.
It's so good. It's so good, especially if you grew up around the time, like down to like the music cues and like the various things. Like it just captures it all like perfectly. This latest episode, it was called Marsha, and you really like. I just felt bad for Marsha Clark. It's like the media and the public just really did a number on her, and then again, just like the facts of the case, it's like so crazy. The whole thing's just crazy. All right, then on the wrestling side, I watch a lot of random stuff on WWE Network. We just had a network special called Roadblock. They do like these. They're basically like televised house shows. They've been doing like a specials. And so it was a cool little lead up to WrestleMania. I enjoyed it. And then New Japan World, there was just they had the New Japan Cup. And I talked about last week, we had like this is how nerdy I am. Instead of doing a March Madness bracket, I had a New Japan Cup bracket. It was a tournament. And I finished in 4th place, 1 place out of the prize pool. So that was kind of a bummer, but it's the highest I've ever ranked on a Voices of Wrestling ranking. So I feel like I'm getting better with my New Japan predictions. And I don't know, Japanese wrestling, I have some real big fan. Lucha Underground, I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's on El Rey Network, which is Robert Rodriguez's network. So it's Mexican Lucha Libre combined with a telenovela.
I've seen an episode, and I'll admit, it's a cool idea.
It's like
it's a really cool thing they do.
This season has been really nuts, where basically one of the wrestlers basically revealed himself to be a Time Lord, and we also learned that Katrina, who is like now in charge of everything, she can appear and disappear at will. She has the power of the dark side, I guess. Just nonstop craziness. And there was Benson went to some of the tapings. I went to almost all the tapings last season. And so this last episode last week, they had a crazy 3-way match between, it was Pentagon Jr., Prince Puma, who's also known as Ricochet on the Indies and in Japan, and then the champion Mil Muertes, and they wrestled a 3-way match that there's no rules. And if you can watch this last episode, Benson and I were sitting on the floor, and like on the floor level, we were in chairs, but they go, you can see us, like they go right into our section. That was pretty awesome. And it was a crazy match. A lot of sites are calling it a potential match of the year candidate. It was a lot of fun because it's just a lot of high flying lucha style combined with these just like insane vignettes that are like movie quality. They really spend a lot of money on this stuff. And it's the most, and I've been to WWE events, and it's the most cameras I've ever seen at a wrestling show. Like the way they shoot it is pretty amazing. It's really well done. And they're doing the season 3 starts taping this weekend, and I'm going, so I'm very excited.
Mhm.
So yeah, so watching that, Agents of Shield, American Crime Story, 11/22/63 on Hulu. I just watched we're on the tail end now, so it's 8 episodes. So they just had episode 5, and having read the book, it's really interesting the choices that they're making out of necessity to make it like, you know, something you can watch as a movie. I mean, as a miniseries, and they made some choices that some people might freak out about. But again, books and movies are just so different, and I think they're doing a really good job.
How's Franco in this?
I think Franco's great.
Okay.
I like it a lot. I really like it, and it's really it's different than the book, but the choices, everything that they've done has made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I'm really enjoyed it. I don't know, are you a fan of Bob's Burgers?
Yes.
It's great. This last episode was awesome. They did this whole thing where like there was a lice outbreak at the school, and Tina's like helping out with the nurse, and the kids get quarantined in the nurse's office, and it's really funny. And then Bob gets new seats for the diner and finds out that they make fart noises, and that's a whole little plot there. I love that show.
I'm diving into season 2 finally.
Okay.
On Netflix.
Yeah.
I know we'll get to
that.
Dude,
that's the season isn't the season 2 premiere is that's the Belchies, the Goonies episode.
Yeah.
Best episode where they actually got Cyndi Lauper to record a new song.
Yeah, that was amazing. I think that show is so. I mean, it's that funny for me. That show is a show that like it just sort of grew on me slowly.
Yeah.
And I remember like a friend's like, you should really watch it, and like I kind of wasn't sure what the hook was. I went, okay, sure, like this looks fine. And then by like episode 8, I figured out the hook. I figured out the comedy, and now I'm a huge fan. It's the show that I kind of watch on my break during work.
Yeah, I watch it all the time. Like if I just want to put something on, and yeah, I love it.
And I can plow through a bunch of them at once.
Oh yeah, and I've like in between seasons, I'll watch all the other seasons like multiple times. And I have something like again, the voice talent that they get is just crazy.
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge Kevin Kline fan, and I love it.
Like it's so nuts, like Mr. Fish Odor, and he's like, it's so awesome. Yeah, I love Kevin Kline, and it's crazy that like that's basically all that he's doing now.
Yeah, he's just showing up in Old Man Vegas comedy movies, and then this,
and being married to Phoebe Cates. You know,
he's doing fine.
Let's see, what else did I watch? Well, I talked about Vinyl. My other like just garbage show is Pretty Little Liars, which used to be Fox Family, but now it's called Freeform because I guess they realized that most of their shows now are not family friendly.
I'm sorry, that I did not know they switched the network name again.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember for a while I was calling it Fox Family, and someone's like, that was like 15 years ago. Yeah, Pretty Little Liars is insane. And I've watched it and I just yell at them because they're basically, so they did this thing where instead of having them in college, they just skipped 5 years ahead. Which is, I mean, I get it, because like most shows, for teen shows, like college is the death kiss, you know. But they're making the same exact mistakes, and I'm like, you guys didn't learn anything. You're stupid. You're all morons, and I hope you get murdered. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. It's crazy. And then I was really mad because then their Facebook like spoiled a huge thing for this week's episode, and I was like, why are you doing that? It's not cool. But yeah, so that's I don't know. Are you watching Last Man on Earth? That's like one of my favorite shows.
I was so into it, and then again, when I fall behind bad.
Yeah.
So I saw a good amount of season 1, and I've not finished it.
Dude, it's so good. So good. Oh my god. Because it seems like the show changes into something completely different almost every episode.
Yeah. That's what it was even in the beginning. Like episode 1, Oh,
Oh yeah.
it's like, oh, it's going to be this weird show where it's Will Forte by himself. I get it. That's kind of amazing.
Nope.
And then you get to the end, and you're like, wait, what? And then every week it just
Yeah.
morphed into
And
something
they
else.
still managed to do that in ways that it's insane. And like this week's episode was amazing. And the cast, I love it. It's turning me like I never thought I'd say this.
Mhm.
It's continuing to turn me around on January Jones because like she's like especially, but I think they use her in the correct way.
Right.
Because again, I think she definitely has limitations.
Yeah. But it's interesting how they figured that out, what those
Yeah.
are. Because I've seen her in other things, and she's, fine. But but she's used really well here.
Yeah. And then so then two things that Phil recommended to me that I finally got around to watching. One is an Amazon exclusive show, and it's called Gordimer Gibbons' Life on Normal Street.
Okay.
Did you ever watch Erie, Indiana?
Yes.
It's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about these kids, and like weird stuff happens and they have to kind of figure it out. And this first episode, like Phil had told me, like he got really into it, and it's really good. The kids are great, and it reminds me a lot of Erie, Indiana. Not quite as like out there, but like similar. Where again, it's like I'm pretty sure this is a kids show, but it doesn't talk down to kids. And I think because of that, it makes it a good show that anybody can watch. And I really like it. I really liked it a lot. I'm really excited to keep watching it. And then another one that, again, I wasn't sure about until Phil told me to watch it. But it does have some pedigree because I don't know if you're a Freaks and Geeks fan.
Oh, yeah.
So Jake Kasdan has a new show called The Grinder with Rob Lowe and Fred Savage.
I've heard about this. Yeah.
And where Rob Lowe was like on this law, it was like a procedural show called The Grinder, and now it's over. So Fred Savage is his brother, who's an actual lawyer, and then he moves back in with him, and he's like, "I'm gonna help you. I want to be a real lawyer," and it's really good. Like it's really funny, and then it's Fred Savage, and then Fred Savage's wife is the waitress from It's Always Sunny. And it's a really good show. I really liked it. I watched like 3 episodes like in a row.
I've been one that I kind of was curious about that, especially because I know that Fred Savage has actually mostly been behind camera.
Yeah, he's been directing for years, but he's worked on amazing stuff like Party Down and like all kinds of good stuff.
But I do remember hearing like he normally stays behind camera, but the script to The Grinder apparently wasn't enough. Right? Oh, yeah. I get this.
Yeah, and then Jake Kasdan, who is a big part of Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah.
And he's great. He does. I think he's really. You can tell it's got that feel to it, and I really like it.
Okay, nice.
Right.
Okay, I'm kind of curious about that one. So yeah.
And then Netflix. What do you got on Netflix?
I just finished 2 things yesterday. I came back home from our flight, and I just kind of decompressed. So I watched. I finished watching a movie that I was watching on the plane called Meet the Patels. It's a kind of a documentary.
Okay.
Basically, it's main character. Did you watch Master of None?
Yes, with his parents and stuff.
Did you remember the episode where it was about Aziz and his friend talking about acting as Indian actors, right?
Yeah. I love that show.
That was one of my favorite shows last year for sure.
Yeah, and like his real parents and his dad is like, I want to watch a show where it's just his dad.
His dad's. I'll go to a little side personal thing. That episode 2 where we flash back to his parents.
Yeah. Oh my god.
As a Filipino American.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I was a second gen, and my family had the same thing. I felt I related to that episode so bad. I just like, holy crap, that's exactly. And oh my god, I've said the same things to my mom when I'm frustrated with her about technology, but. I'll go into this. Okay, so the guy who played his friend in that episode who does the Indian accents, he has a movie on Netflix called Meet the Patels, in which it's a documentary that he co-directed with his sister. And it actually documents his experience in the Indian dating culture.
Okay, like arranged marriages and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. And he's...
I have some Indian friends. I have a friend that actually can't go back to India because if she does, her mom will marry her off to somebody.
Yeah. Okay, then this documentary explores their relationship with that. Does he want it? His acceptance of why he wanted to try doing it now, and it's
so
really
he wants to get arranged marriage.
it basically points out that he was dating a Caucasian girl for a couple of years. That was his first real girlfriend, and then I think he got it into his head that he kind of wanted a family that's much like his, which is an Indian family. So he decided to go ahead and all right, mom, dad, figure out the arranged marriage thing. And it goes into some interesting details about how it works and how it used to work and how it worked for his parents and etc. So it's a cute documentary too. It's only an hour and a half. It's a really
check that out. That sounds cool.
It's funny as hell too. I finished watching Love.
Oh, dude, what do you think about that?
Ah, God. I get you talk about being a big Freaks and Geeks fan. I love that show, and this is
the idea of Mr. Rosso and Mr. Kachevsky living together.
Oh, it's so cute. It's
the best thing in the world.
I was so happy to see them there. I love the show. I think the show. Yeah. I think Love is great.
Especially as those are people of our age range and dealing with things, and it didn't pull any punches.
No.
And I've been in some of those situations.
Yeah.
And
I'm a big fan of Jillian Jacobs.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
And there's this bit in one of the later episodes where she's just looking over Gus's Facebook pictures.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, fuck, I've done that.
Oh, I'm not even gonna lie. I did that last night.
It's not. Yeah, I know. It's one of those. That's what you said. It doesn't hold back. And I think between this and Master of None, these are two really cool shows. Kind of addressing folks around our age and our generation.
But from a more not a sitcom-y way,
Yeah. No, these are all really good indie comedy dramas that happen to be TV show late. And
my favorite new person from that show, because she was in Trainwreck, and that's when she was on my radar. But what's her name? Crap, the Australian girl.
Oh, Gertie, the actress played Gertie.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
She is so good in this show.
So funny, but also sometimes it makes me cry. She's just so honest and sweet.
Yeah,
everybody has that friend, and when she takes, but in Gillian Jacobs, sometimes she's just such a bad person, a garbage friend to her, and you're oh gosh, but that's it's just so true. Again, I love that there are every character has their good and bad side.
Yeah,
because they're real people. And Paul Rust, I've been a big fan of his for a long time, and I'm glad. I hope now the world sees his greatness.
No, between this and I think he even co-wrote the Pee-wee movie.
Yeah, he co-wrote Pee-wee. I mean, that's when he kind of between that and Comedy Bang Bang and stuff, he got popped up on my radar.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's so. It's funny. Even I remember watching, watching the trailer to "I Love You, Beth Cooper."
Yeah,
where he was the lead in that, and thinking. He was pretty funny in that, but yeah, no, he's so good in this show specifically.
So good.
And just some moments where he's sitting there and you're like, Gus, don't, Gus.
Yeah. The whole thing with the writing stuff where and then when he's in the writer's room, and I'm oh man, oh gosh.
No, I mean, no, I when he tried to reach for the computer, I don't know. I was so
the whole
trying to put myself in that situation. If what if I got that chance? I'm I wouldn't do half the shit you're doing. In fear of losing my job.
The whole dinner date and the thing with Will Sasso and that's that was excruciating to watch. But we've all had similar dating experience.
What I like about that episode is that it's the thing where you go, you think because these two have similar personality types, that they probably might be a good match, and that's one of the more realistic things about it is that that's actually not true sometimes. You know, sometimes it isn't that the same. Work together and. Yeah, and there's that element too where you think back on Gus's ex-girlfriend pointing out the fact that your niceness comes off as fake and trying too hard, and I don't know, it's it really is a show full of horribly flawed people, and I really loved it. So, yeah,
Awesome.
that was a great show.
Glad you feel that way, because that's exactly how I feel. Any other Netflix stuff?
Other than revisiting episodes of Parks and Rec.
Oh God, I saw your Tumblr, and I saw just looking at your Tumblr made me want to go back and watch some Parks and Rec. I love that show so much.
Yeah, no,
it's so good. Chris Pratt. I love that now Chris Pratt is Chris Pratt, but I'm like, we all knew this for years.
Yeah.
If you watch that show.
It's funny. Every time we talk about Parks and Recs, whatever, folks, it always starts off with like, well, we all agreed that we didn't like season 1, most of it, and then season 2.
But you could see elements; they were there.
But I remember
it was like the first few episodes of The Office.
Yeah. And that was the thing,
especially in Parks and Rec, because they were trying to be The Office.
The Office, and that was the.
And then when they figured out, I think it was also when they started realizing what they had in the supporting cast.
Yes.
Because like when Ron Swanson started becoming Ron Swanson, and again with like Todd, like with like Aziz and everybody and Retta, when they started shaping those characters.
Oh man, I got to tell you, when I was at the airport, on my way out of Austin, I finally got through TSA. I realized the dude in front of me was a BJ Novak.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh wow, it's BJ Novak, but I left him alone, So I'm putting my, I'm waiting for the rest of my family to go through the metal detector, and I look up and I see a guy in front of me, and he's on the phone with a gruff face, and he's looking kind of a little tired and annoyed. I realize like, oh shit, it's Nick Offerman.
Oh man, oh my god.
Oh my god. And I was like, BJ Novak, I like The Office up to a point, and I was like, oh, that's cool, but I wasn't like such a big fan of his. I think it's cool, but I don't think I'm like. But I saw Offerman, I went, oh my god, no, I shouldn't. Oh, but it's Nick Offerman. No, I shouldn't. I was so tempted to talk to him, but he looked tired, and then my brain went, Ron Swanson would not want a picture with anybody. Even if Nick Offerman is the opposite of that in life, and
but it kind of seems to me like Nick Offerman is like 70% Ron Swanson.
So that's why I didn't want to risk it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave you alone. I'm sure you were here for South by Southwest, but you're tired and you're ready to go back to LA. So, but yeah, but it was awesome. It was Nick Offerman. I was so close. Like I have to say hi. No, leave him alone. He's got a plane to catch. It sucks.
That's cool.
I attempted to watch 10 minutes of Fuller House.
Yeah, not for you. Were you a fan of Full House?
As growing up, yes, of course. But I'm 32 now, and
I watched the whole thing, and I enjoyed it. But that's because I'm a big dork, and I still like a lot of that stuff. But I get that it's cheesy as hell.
I guess if anything, I don't know. I guess I outgrew that style of television comedy.
Yeah. I think, and I get that. I totally get that, because it's a freaking antiquated. It's like the laugh track is awful. Like I'm glad that kind of went away for normal things.
I will say this though, I did watch first 10 minutes, and what I'll say about the first 10 minutes is, I'm not gonna lie, the nostalgia button did kick in enough for me to go,
oh yeah,
oh look, it's fucking everybody except Michelle. But like, it is kind of cute. It is kind of cool to see. I mean, as a kid, I loved Dave Coulier, so I mean, like I did kind of was happy to see him again, and it's kind of funny too to hear sitcom like what happened to them is like the most perfect version of their. It's the most perfect version of the thing that happened to all of them. Oh
yeah, it's like, insane.
Like, Dave Coullier's character is now a popular artist performing in Vegas, and now John Stamos' character is now a record producer, and everyone's super happy except for who, because her husband died. So no, I know a lot of people really loved it on I saw my Facebook, Twitter feeds, and people on my friends and followers were really happy with the show, and I went, that's cool. I'm happy for you.
I saw that, but I also saw a lot of people that were just I think your headphones popped out or something. Sorry.
Oh shit.
I could hear you. I could hear myself. but now I can't. So I think you're good.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So I think my whole thing is like I hear when people rip on it and some of the critics pull it apart. I'm like, did you watch Full House? Because this is Full House. Like, they're acting like I'm like they're treating it. I'm like, we're not talking about the freaking Wire here. Like, because they're like, I'm like, this show was never meant to be scrutinized at this level.
No, yeah. You have to kind of adjust. And
I mean, it's a freaking probably one of the cheesiest sitcoms ever made.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think like it's been like that part of it, like the response from people. I'm just like, if you're the way people are angry about it, I'm like, I don't think you actually watch Full House. I think maybe you don't remember it and you have this idea in your head, which is true about a lot of nostalgia stuff.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to reproduce something in their brain that never actually existed or is on such a high pedestal that it can't possibly live up to it.
Yeah. I remember finding that out when I finally watched episodes of Thundercats when I grew up.
Oh, yeah. Some of those old shows, like G.I. Joe to me is like the worst. Like G.I. Joe is garbage.
Thundercats, I think I can't tell people like that the opening credits of Thundercats is so good that your brain thinks the rest of the show is that good until you actually start watching the show. Like, no, but the opening credits of Thundercats is so action-packed and great. You think the whole show's like that until you realize it's like 20 minutes of people walking and standing and talking. And maybe a little fighting. Yeah, I think Power Rangers under the same kind of rose-colored glasses right now where I like that stuff. I think it's cheesy and dumb as hell, but I don't think the show was that good.
Well, especially because like it's insane to me like when you find out like if you ever watch like the actual like Super Sentai,
which
and,
I
like,
do, yeah.
How they completely butchered up that show and like
that is
insane what they did.
I should have brought that up as things I'm not watching streaming. I watch a shitload of Japanese superhero shows.
Yeah.
Like Super Sentai,
Kamen Rider. Have you seen Battle Royale 2?
I have.
Aren't like a lot of the people in that from like those Super Sentai shows?
You know what? I haven't. I'm gonna look that up because I haven't seen that movie in a while.
I think when I looked it up, like that seemed to be a common bond in some of their credits.
I
didn't even talk about that, but I mean, real quick. I mean, we are running out of time here, but Battle Royale 2 was one of the more disappointing things in my life. The beginning is awesome.
Yes,
and then it gets to be like when it's just like then it's just Nanahara like preaching at them, and they're like just hanging out in the bunker, and like nothing's happening, and then like the like it gets so heavy-handed with its message, and it's I don't know, it's a mess.
It's a mess. I know, especially because it's his father finishing. It's his son finishing his father's work.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not entirely putting him to blame, but I don't know. Yeah, Battle Royale 2. I mean, the idea sounded kind of cool, but when that movie was done, I'm like, oh my god, okay. I'm glad it didn't threaten us with a third one. I will say that much. I think we're good with just the one. Or the two, I guess.
All right. Well, then for me, the last the Netflix stuff, I did start watching Freaks and Geeks just because I was just feeling sentimental. And that show, again, I've watched all those so many times, and God, it's so good. Mm-hmm. I watched the 2 episodes I watched were the one where it's like Neil's got the ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah.
And then they do the Christmas party, and it's got David Krumholtz and as Neil's brother. And God, it's just so good. And like there are parts of it where you're like, this is really sad, but then it's so funny. And then on the other side, on the freak story is Daniel. So Franco, Siegel. Again, that cast is insane. And they were nobodies at the time, and like it's just nuts. So it's Franco, Siegel, and Rogan, and they go to a punk rock club.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, dude, it's so awesome. And then he comes crawling back to Busy Phillips. He's still got his punk rock hair. It's all like Oh, dude, it's so ridiculous. And like, I think like a Frank Sinatra song that's playing. The music is just it's the best. And then the second episode was where they go to the makeout party, and like so like Cindy and Sam like finally like start going out, and that whole thing where like they're sitting at the table and Bill is like, what if Sam like, and these were like real things that you dealt with in high school, because Bill's like, what if Sam starts going out with Cindy and then he doesn't talk to us anymore?
Yeah.
Like that's a real thing. Like that's like not out of the realm of possibility. And then like, but then when they watch him go and kiss her, and then like the first words out of Neil's mouth is like, it's happening. And like I can see we're gonna be going to, I see cheerleaders at Sam's house. I see me at Sam's house. We're gonna go to cool kid parties. And then they go to the cool kid party and they're playing in the bottle. And then Bill makes out with Vicky Appleby. Like it's so great. I love it. It is just so well done. And then on the freak side, that's when like Nick, Jason Segel's character, like ends up staying at the Weir's house, and like Lindsay's dad like kind of takes him under his wing, and like that's really a great story. And Kevin, I think is Kevin Feige from Lost, is Nick's dad, and he's like, oh, because everybody knew somebody who had that dad, like military hard ass dad. Like, and that was really great. And that whole scene between, so also how great is Joe Flaherty?
I love Joe Flaherty's period, but he's so great in that show.
So good. And there's that scene where he pulls Nick's dad aside and he's trying to like, I don't know what he thinks is gonna happen, where he's gonna like lecture him, but then like Nick's dad is like, how old's your son? And he's like 14, and he just is like, you give me a call when he's 16. And it's just like boom, end of conversation. And yeah, and I love that show. It's so good. So I watched that, and then I've been trying to catch up on Comedy Bang Bang, because they finally put out more episodes, the ones with when Kid Cudi took over for Reggie. And that show's hilarious. Have you watched it all?
Myself, I have to watch. I know I want to watch more of it.
Oh my god, so good! It's amazing. But that does it for Netflix. I think that's gonna do it because we hit our limits here. Just real quick on the video game front, I am still playing. I don't know if you've heard about Stardew Valley at all. It's on Steam, but it's like one guy made it, and you heard of Harvest Moon games?
Yeah.
So it's like Harvest Moon, but like it's again this one guy made it by himself. It's already sold like 450,000 copies. Dude's like a self-made millionaire overnight, which is nuts. Like, you know, that guy's stoked.
Yeah.
And
nice.
I've already played 20 hours of it. It's one of those like just one more day. Like I can stop at any time, like because you know you do your farm, you got fishing, and I'm like an Animal Crossing nut, so it's like a little bit of that, a little bit of all that, and then there's also like a dungeon crawler, like you can go in the mines, fight monsters. It's got everything, and I'm hopelessly addicted to it. And now, like this is bad because now, first I was listening to music while I was doing it, and now I started listening to podcasts, and today, I listened to like 4 hours worth of podcast while I'm playing this game. Like I listened to Marin. I listened to. I've started listening. I'm on the Empire of the Sun episode, so I'm behind on your guys' show and listening to some other shows. Listen to the new Blaze podcast, which everybody should check out. But yeah, so that's my new hopeless addiction. Stardew Valley. It's only $15 on the Steam store, man. It's great. And then I think that's pretty much. Oh, I started playing. You know the again, like I know you're not a huge video game guy, but the LucasArts like classic, like point and click adventure games, like Maniac Mansion.
Yeah. Of course.
So on the PlayStation Network, they gave it away for free last month. Grim Fandango Remastered. And I hadn't played this game in like years, and it is so out there, and I love these like bizarro adventure games. They're so fun. They're finally making Day of the Tentacle Remastered, which that's like my favorite game ever. And I love like the point and click adventure games because one, you're like you have to figure. I love games where you like have to figure shit out.
Yeah.
And it's not like a clear path, you know. And like, because I'm not a fan of like Call of Duty and like that kind of stuff. Like, and this is like, it's a great story. It's funny, like, and it's like, for a while I almost got stuck where I almost looked online and then I just kind of like, I'm like, no, I'm gonna figure this out. And then like I poked around and I figured out the puzzle and then I moved on. Like it was a lot of fun. Yeah, because it reminds me a lot. Because I mean, the newer versions of those are like the Telltale games, which I don't know if you played the Back to the Future.
No, I haven't played it yet, but I know a lot. You know, I kind of sat through my buddies of showing me.
They're pretty awesome.
I know the game. The game looks awesome. I know. I have a lot of friends who are really into the Walking Dead ones.
Yeah, those ones I've played a couple of them. They're really good. They're really intense.
No, that's what I heard. And the Fables one I heard is also really good too.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of good stuff, and I love that those games are back.
Yeah,
because for a while, like, and then I think I knew it was going to happen when Disney bought Lucas and had LucasArts. They're like, oh, we can just release all these games and make money. And I'm like, yes, please do. Like, thank you. Because like LucasArts wasn't doing anything with them for years. They were just sitting on them. And so, yeah, I was really stoked about that. But I think that's going to do it for this week. Once again, Justin, you are at agentsofguard.com. Is that correct?
That's correct. And follow me on Twitter at Justin Keyson. And yeah, listen to me and Matt Benson review every single Spielberg movie ever directed. He's ever directed, and on Benview on Spielberg.
All right, and don't forget to go to BenviewNetwork.com for all the other Benview Network podcasts. Be sure to go to RadioBrendo.com. Click that link for the Amazon Prime free trial. Also, we got our $50 off DreamHost deal. If you click the DreamHost link, don't forget about that. Click that Amazon button. We always appreciate that. That's the easiest way you can help out the show is before you make those purchases on Amazon, click the Amazon banner. And follow us on Twitter at BrendoMan. BrendoMan@gmail.com is our email, as always. Facebook group. Check out all that stuff. All the links, radiobrendo.com and BenviewNetwork.com. And I think that's going to do it for us. And then next week we're going to do, Phil and I actually did a commentary on the first ever Radio BrendoMan episode. So that should be fun. And but it's designed as a standalone episode. Like you don't have to, we realized that like if you put it over the episode, it's just going to be a madness of people talking. So we designed it as a standalone thing. But I think people will get a kick out of it. And then I'm going to have a special guest next week. I'm not sure who it is yet. It's probably Derek. Might be Benson. I don't know. But thank you guys for listening. And for Radio BrendoMan, I'm Brendan Creecy. And have a good one, everybody. Wow, so we did it great. That's actually, I'm sorry to keep you. I didn't think
No, this is awesome. This is cool.
So thank you. I got my whole week's worth of stuff. So that's great.
Cool.
But thank you very much. That was fun talking to you.
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm not, because sometimes I'll talk to people about like the Japanese movies and stuff, and that's where I lose a lot of people. Like I've told people to watch Battle Royale, and then they're like, never recommend a movie to me again.
No, I mean, like it's like for me, it's like I was that guy for the longest time. I was that guy too in my group of friends, and I mean at the same time, like my friends liked it too. So it was a case where they were like, oh, I mean, like I would have seen Battle Royale if it wasn't for you. But
yeah,
I also know that like it's not. Yeah, I'm like it's guys like us are kind of not common, especially now we're in the interesting phase of like, so yeah, I don't have to worry about trying to get an import DVD anymore.
Yeah, everything's on Netflix, which is awesome.
I know, that's crazy to me.
It seems like there's a high percentage of crazy Japanese stuff on Netflix. Like Battle Royale's on Netflix.
Yeah,
and like all the other random stuff. Like And so again, my Netflix queue is just out of control. So yesterday, so last night I started watching the Crouching Tiger sequel, but then I like stopped because I wanted to go to bed. But then but then you know how it does? It pops up like because you watch this, and then it had a bunch of Shaw Brothers movies popped up, and I was like, oh shit. And so then I started watching 36 Chamber of the Shaolin. I love Gordon Liu. And I'm pretty sure have I seen this before? I think I have. I don't know. They all kind of start bleeding together because I feel like there was a period where I watched, after Kill Bill, I think I watched every single Gordon Liu movie that I could get my hands on. Yeah. And there was at least like 20 of them. Because there's like a insane amount of Shaw Brothers movies. Mm-hmm. But I love Gordon Liu, and I love those movies. They're so awesome.
Do you ever you see The Master of Guillotine? Flying Guillotine?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's another fun one I really dug. And I have a weird soft spot. Here's the weirdest. I feel like we should consider doing an Asian film podcast at some point. Because I think you're the only one who's talking about it. There's a really cool kung fu movie I own, and it's so weird because I only have a VHS copy of it. And it's like this super obscure one. Like it's called like Snake in the Monkey Shadow. There's nobody famous. But
there's a lot of that stuff, and because the only other person I know that has what you're talking about, where it's stuff that's only on VHS, is the only other person I know that has things like that. I don't even have a VCR, but I still have a box of VHS tapes because I just keep them because it's the only format that some of the stuff's on. Phil actually has a VCR and has a ton of VHS stuff, but yeah, and he's into. See, because for him, he doesn't like the extreme Japanese stuff at all because he can't handle gory stuff. But he loves kung fu movies, and he loves the epics. He loves the Chinese epics.
Oh, okay.
So Johnny Mo, House of Flying Daggers, that kind of stuff. But then also weird kung fu movies. But so Phil and I have a lot of overlap. But then when I try and get him, I tried to get him to watch Battle Royale, and he couldn't do it. But yeah, my one piece of Battle Royale trivia, and I still kind of wish this had happened. On my old podcast, we interviewed Jeff Katz, who was executive at New Line.
Yeah.
And he did what was his big one? Oh yeah, what was it called? That gun movie with Clive Owen.
Yeah, Shoot 'em up.
Shoot 'em up, yeah. So he did that, and Freddy versus Jason and stuff. And his big project that he kept trying to get New Line to do in the late 90s, which he's well, now it wouldn't work, and I wouldn't want to do it now. But at the time, and I'm I think about it, and it would have been insane, is he was trying to get him to buy the rights to Battle Royale. And he wanted to do it and he actually had gotten some preliminary agreements from some of the cast, but it was gonna be all the teen Disney Channel stars at the time. He was gonna be Hilary Duff as Suoma type character. So Hilary Duff, and then what's her face? Some of those other girls, all those girls, and pop. He was gonna have a bunch of pop people, but of that specific time period.
Oh, that would have been.
And I think he was gonna do hard R. He wasn't, because the thing was, he was here's the thing. Every studio that tried to buy that movie, they would say no because everybody wanted to do a PG-13.
Right.
And they were I'm so glad that didn't happen. But he's I was going to do an R-rated. I was going to do a hard R. And I was going to do, it was going to be a bunch of those girls that was going to be how they were going to break out of that, Because it was all those ones where they were on the verge of wanting to get away from that, persona. So that's how he was going to have them, he was going to capitalize on that and have all those people.
Yeah.
all the WB star, like some of those other people. I'm like, that
would
would have been awesome.
That's like, yeah, because I would have gotten behind that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I think he was talking to like Jessica Biel and like some of those people, like again, like this, like some of the like again like poppy, like bubblegummy. Like I think he even was talking to like you said at the time, like he was. No, because it would have been too early for Miley Cyrus, but he was talking to some of like the Disney Channel people,
right?
And like that would have been crazy.
Funny enough, actually, I have a weird connection to Shoot 'Em Up.
Oh yeah.
It was the week after I graduated film school, or 2 weeks after I graduated film school, and I just got back from the holidays, and I was hanging out. I went back to LA, and I just got Shoot 'Em Up on DVD. And I was just, I've gone through all the making ofs and whatever. And so I was at this one barbecue restaurant, and I realized the guy who's talking to some other dude at the restaurant is the director of Shoot 'Em Up. And I walked up to him and I said, hey, I actually am a big fan of the movie, and I really like your other works as well. And I actually have seen some other movies he's done. And he sat there and went, hey man, cool, thank you. And he actually started talking to me. And he was great to talk to, and by the end of it, he was like, hey man, like, give me your email address. Like, okay. And a week after that, I emailed him, and then he emailed me back going like, hey, if you're back in town again, go ahead and meet me in my office. And I met up with him at his office. He was in the middle of writing another screenplay, and he bought me coffee, and he just gave me some amazing advice. Like, wow. He took his own time to really talk to me, and he asked if I brought a copy of my short film, which I did. Yeah, give it to me. I'll watch it. I'm like, okay. And again, a week after that, he just emailed me the short film. He just emailed me. He said, just watched the short film. I love the act. You directed the actors really well. It's a lot of fun. It's really funny. Dude, you're in the right track, man. I'm like, holy crap.
So is this the director guy? Because I remember, like, is that who you're talking about?
The director of Shoot 'Em Up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if have you seen the like presentation that he made to like pitch that? Like that thing is amazing, and that's how
like the animated thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How they got the movie, how they got the movie made, like that. That's an incredible piece of filmmaking right there.
Great. It's such a great idea. It's such a great idea to pitch your action movie. It's like, here it is, basically. And and then when you watch the movie and you see those storyboards, actually, you're like, you did what you said you're gonna do. You didn't lie. That's exactly the film you shot. No, I like that movie a lot. It's crazy weird, and I'm a little bummed out to hear that director hasn't really been doing much since. Like, I've tried to keep in contact with him too for a couple of years, and he does respond when he can, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's been up to, and I mean, that's like, it's a memory I'll have. Like, this guy took his time to help talk to me and give me advice and even watch my movie. But it's almost 10 years, and I realized, oh my God, but you haven't made a movie or anything since Shoot 'Em Up, and that bums me out a great deal. But he was a cool dude, you know. A lot of people seem to have liked him too. So
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
All right, so you got everything come out okay on there?
It should be. I'm putting I just put them in.
All right. Well, once they're uploaded, just send me the link.
Yeah, because they're on Google Drive.
Yeah.
I think they're waiting on the file to.
Yeah, it's got to sync up.
Yeah. I'll give it to. When's the late? Like, I'll have it to you for sure tomorrow.
Tomorrow's great.
Okay.
So as long as it's by tomorrow, I'm good.
Okay. And then your email, is it the same? Would I have your email?
BrendoMan@gmail.com.
So that's simple. BrendoMan@gmail.com. Okay. I should be able to. Yeah, once this is all synced up, then I'll email it to you tomorrow.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, dude. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
That was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Whenever you need me, you want me back, let me know. I'm happy to come.
And I'll definitely be seeing you at WonderCon then.
Yes, for sure. And if things work out, I'll check out your panel too. That sounds cool.
Yeah, you gotta be there to see Lindy and his panel debut. I think he's pretty stoked on it.
Is this his first panel?
I don't know. I don't think he's done a panel before.
Oh, wow. Nice. Okay. All right, man. Cool. I will definitely see you for sure at WonderCon.
Awesome.
All right.
Take it
Thanks a
easy.
lot, man.